name's Owen, and I'm the Dungeon Master of our Return of the Giants 5th edition homebrew campaign.
Hi, I'm Ali. I'm playing Lyra, the Eladrin Spore Druid, and she is just a little bit obsessed with mushrooms.
Hi, my name's Simon. I'm playing the character of Ember. I'm a wildfire druid who's on a quest to be the very best there ever was.
Hi, I'm Dave, and I play Harry Harrington, the Harrengon, the roguish merchant with the heart of gold.
My name is Christian. I'm playing Bartholomew, the romantic dancing Owlin, Paladin of devotion.
Hi, my name is Matt, and I'll be playing Niles Silverwind, the Owlin, Way of the Sympathy Monk.
Hey guys, I'm Jared. I play the character of Threign, the boisterous frost giant, the Goliath, path of the giant Barbarian.
Hello there, lovely listener. This is just a warning to let you know that this episode of Return of the Giants may contain adult language or adult themes. Hello!
Hello!
Hello, everybody! Welcome back to the Lost Archives. It is wonderful to see you joining us once again for our Return of the Giants campaign. We are very excited to be back playing our very, very wonderful homebrew 5th edition campaign. Now, we were away last week. Unfortunately, we had some awful internet issues, unsolvable internet issues, which I still do. I haven't actually gotten to the bottom of what they were, but my download speed dropped to about 600 kilobytes per second, and my upload was about 20 kilobytes per second, not megabytes, kilobytes. So, for obvious reasons, the stream was not going to run on that kind of potato speed internet service. I wonder if maybe one of the fiber optics failed or something, and a copper wire got replaced. I don't know. But in this spot where I'm at the moment, I'm obviously between moving into the new house. This place where I'm staying is right at the end of the node, so it is copper wire for about, I think, like 200 meters. So it could just be the failings of copper. But so very, very sorry about that. Everything's looking perfect tonight. I've been watching the internet all week, doing regular speed tests, and it's all been stable and perfect since then. So I don't think we're going to have any technical issues tonight. Now, we do have two apologies for tonight. Dave obviously is still away having a lovely, lovely holiday, so he will not be joining us for tonight. But I think he's actually back next Wednesday. I think is his next session back. So that'll be very, very exciting to get Harry back. And Christian is unable to play tonight as well. He had another commitment he had to stick to. So I'll play Bartholomew tonight as well. Jared is on his way. He's just running a little bit late. So hopefully he'll be jumping in very, very shortly, and we'll be seeing him very soon. I'll play Threign until he jumps in. Luckily, where we kind of left off last session is a pretty easy spot to play around with a bit of roleplay with the three people who are here, Ali, Simon, and Matt. So we'll be able to have a bit of fun with that. In terms of other outside news, the only one I'll say really quickly, I think I did mention this during the Curse of Strahd session on Monday as well. Avatar obviously is a big thing for this channel. We love Avatar Legends, and we played a lot of Avatar Legends last year. We will be playing more soon. Our Kyoshi era campaign is coming out very, very soon. I just need to finish the move across before we can start that, so that's only a few weeks away. But we are thinking about organizing the Avatar cast, about doing maybe a little watch party of the new Netflix Avatar when it comes out. So far, it looks like it's going to be okay. I know a few people are a bit worried about the fact that it's going to be... No, Ali's shaking her head. Is that because it's a remix, not a remake, as they said?
I just doubt anything that's like content that's like, you watched when you were a kid, you got it close to your heart. Anything that they remake isn't going to tick those same boxes.
It's going to be hard.
So
I know.
It's going to seem bad by comparison.
Yeah. On one hand, like I know, I really fear the changes because I know I'm not going to like them as much. But the other hand, like I have to, like the rational part of me is like, yeah, but I don't want them to remake the animated series. The animated series is perfect, and it doesn't need a remake. It doesn't. It's perfect as it is. It doesn't need anyone to do anything to it. Like it will always sit untarnished in my memory forever, and on my computer whenever I want to rewatch it. Like I frequently do. So mostly for research for the Avatar Legends stream. Let's say that. Hey. But yeah, I think what I'm hoping for is it's visually stunning. They're true to the characters for the most part, and any changes they make, while being different, don't detract from the overall themes of the show. I think that's my three wishes, right? Like if I can get all three, like how One Piece nailed it, I reckon. Like they did make some changes. For the most part, those changes were actually pretty good. They didn't detract. Some of the changes actually were kind of okay. I didn't mind very much at all. So if they can just capture lightning in a bottle once more, I'm sure it'll be fine. But yeah, so we'll keep you posted about that. It will be really fun. Obviously, we won't be able to actually show the episode while we're watching it because Netflix do not like it, but we can show us reacting to it. So I'll keep you guys posted. I believe it's the 22nd of February when it comes out, so it's really not that far away at all. Yeah, I'll find out what time it drops in Australia so that we can be there and we can enjoy it. Look, I'm going to try and remain quietly optimistic as best as I can, and I'm just going to enjoy it. The good thing is, right, we all survived M. Night Shyamalan's interpretation of it. Like, the world didn't end. It was okay. It didn't ruin my experience of the animated series. If anything, it enhanced my experience of the animated series. So worst case scenario, if this is a complete dumpster fire, I'm just going to enjoy the animated Avatar even more than I already do, if such a thing were possible. Nah, Ali, what do you say?
Nah.
Nah.
I don't know. It's just nah.
Just a no.
Honestly, just a no.
That's fair.
Don't know to explain. No, we all understand.
It's just bad.
I like, a lot of the actors are really good. It looked like the costumes were really good. The CG looked okay, but then
don't you want to go one way or the other though? You either want it to be really good or just so incredibly crap that's enjoyable. Like, I mean, give me one or the other. It's not. I don't want like a Dragon Ball movie from what was it? Like?
Oh no!
Wow.
Yeah.
We don't talk about that.
oh man.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no, that's a very measured way of looking at it. So I like that. Yeah, look, that's a good point. It can't be worse than Dragon Ball. It can't be. But almost.
I think it's really hard because I think like when you've got different directors and you've got different like people creating the story, like they all kind of want to like make their own mark, or they want to make their like they want to do things in their own way. Because
Witcher.
Well, that's where I'm going with this conversation, because
Yeah.
that's precisely what happened with the Witcher series. It started off so promising. You had very talented individuals. You know, obviously Henry Cavill gets it because you know he's one of us,
Henry
right?
Cavill, God of Nerds, to give him his full title.
God of Nerds, right?
Henry Cavill.
Obviously, you know, the showrunners, the people behind the scenes have different ideas. They have their own interpretation of the story, and I think that's you know that's a loss for them, really. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Henry Cavill can do with the
Warhammer.
universe.
I know. I am so excited.
Gonna be good. I was
good.
reading just before that he's saying that being given the keys to this like franchise is like the greatest privilege he's ever had. In his
Yeah, I was listening to an interview with him talking about how important getting the design of the Tyranids was right, and I'm just sitting there going, yes, and he's just sitting there like, it's really important that we get the Tyranids correct. We have to understand the anatomy and biology of them, and I'm sitting there going, yes, Henry Cavill.
So good.
Oh, I love him so much.
What a king! What a literal king!
He has been well crowned king of the nerds. He deserves it. It is his birthright, and long may he reign. That's all I can say.
My favorite story around that is when he found out he got the role for Superman. He was raiding on WoW.
Yeah, he missed the call. He missed the call because he was in a WoW
from
raid.
Yeah.
They had to call him back, and he didn't answer.
No.
Fantastic.
Oh, absolute bloody legends. We could all aspire to be Henry Cavill, really. Let's be honest. It's
I
life
want to be
goals.
Henry Cavill, right?
Yeah. I mean, if it didn't require huge amounts of dedication and exercise to look like him,
Sure.
I think we could all aspire to that as well.
That's true.
But instead, we're going to sit here and play D&D in our lovely, comfy chairs.
Yay!
I wonder if I reached out to Henry Cavill and was like, "Hey mate, do you want to come play D&D?" Do you reckon he'd respond, right? Let me give it a go. Let's see what happens.
Could.
Let's give it a shot.
He'd probably say that he'd love to, but he's too busy with Warhammer. And I'd be like, fair enough. You know?
That is really fair enough. What if we did like a special Warhammer campaign?
I will do whatever Henry Cavill wants, let's be honest. That man says anything, and like, oh.
We could do, you know, when they do announce a release date, we could do like a special one-shot or something. Or do it over
I will need to brush up on my Warhammer lore, because I'll be honest, I've never been as in-deep into Warhammer as it requires to run a campaign or a one-shot around it.
Yeah.
But I'm beginning to find myself more and more drawn into the universe itself. So I'll brush up and be all over it.
When you start reading the books, it's like pretty good. It's pretty well crafted, actually. Like obviously it's very extreme. Like it's like grimdark, like it basically defined the genre, but
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be very cool for it to be done in a D&D-esque way, perhaps.
Yeah. I'll have a think about that. Could be some cool things we can do.
Could be fun.
That's a topic for another time because we are going to start our campaign. Let me do our recap, get us right into the mindset for our Return of the Giants campaign, and then we will begin. The Tempest Adventuring Guild, a name now legendary across the lands of Nostea, has formed a brand new team. Lyra, Niles, Harry, Ember, and Threign are delving deep below the earth, into the Underdark, seeking to investigate rumours of stone giants taking over territory and arming for war. Now accompanied by Bartholomew, an Owlin taken prisoner by the Duergar, the team have been searching the Underdark for the village their Deep Gnome guides have come from. During their journey through the vast network of caverns, the team stumbled across a Myconid colony and sought respite from the many dangers of the Underdark. They soon learnt that the Myconid colony was in fact under constant threat, their numbers rapidly dwindling. Most recently, a younger Myconid had been killed by a group of fish-like creatures called Kuo-Toa. Offering to assist the Myconids by eliminating this threat, the team decided to head out into the surrounding caverns to hunt down these creatures, discovering a hidden cache of notes and research belonging to the Society of Brilliance along the way. Reaching the Kuo-Toa village, the party interrupted the creatures in the midst of summoning a dark, octopus-like monster. After disrupting the ritual and destroying the entity and the Kuo-Toa summoning it, the aftermath of the battle resulted in our heroes discovering a mural at the back of the cavern, depicting the distant past of Nostea and the giants who first inhabited it. Making their way back to the Myconid Circle, the party reported their success to the 3 Myconid sovereigns, who were pleased to hear that the threat posed by the Kuo-Toa was no more. During the course of the discussions, Lyra asked the sovereigns to assist her in understanding the way in which their spores function, which resulted in the revelation that she has a deeper connection to the Myconids than had previously been known. Now calling her Little Sovereign, Lyra's symbiotic entity Swampy seemed to be rather acutely affected by exposure to the spores and Myconid magic. While Harry and Zaylin planned on escaping the circle without the Shadowblades realizing, Lyra practiced her new powers, and Ember used the knowledge of the gnomes to locate the exact position of another of the caches hidden by the Society of Brilliance. Meanwhile, Bartholomew spent some time with Gook, and together they worked on making him a new amulet. However, we left off last session as Niles suddenly realized he actually recognized the name Satine, the name that Bartholomew had been referring to. A bowerbird, Aarakocra, who was best friends with Iseal, the daughter of his monastic master. That is where we left off last session. We jump straight back in. While Bartholomew is seated on the ground working on his new amulet, helping with a lot of help from Gook, I should say, who is helping to sort of move the metal filigree into place, using a very crudely heated metal rod just in a campfire to help create little spot weld points. As Bartholomew focuses on this, Niles, that name that Bartholomew's mentioned a number of times now, Satine, you definitely recognize it. Almost like a sister to you, the daughter of your monastic teacher and Satine. So Iseal and Satine were almost sisters to you. Obviously, you were away from the Silverwind family for most of your monastic training, and your mentor kind of became a bit of a surrogate father for you during that time, which kind of like fit you in with his family. And I would say that probably you would have lived nearby, if not with him. Your mentor, your teacher, was a very, very gentle Owlin, a very kind Owlin, who also happened to be one of the greatest martial artists the Eris Theocracy had ever produced. Very old, wizened Screech Owl, who was more than happy to invite you into his home and
Wow.
teach you and raise you almost like a son, as he has done for many, many pupils before, and you suspect many pupils after.
Yeah. I think Niles is probably just like mulling this over a little bit, thinking over all of this and kind of trying to take it all in. And it's a shame that Christian isn't here, because I would be, asking probably. I'd probably be asking Bart a little bit more about this. But I think Niles is also equally probably just mulling it over quietly to himself.
Bartholomew hasn't noticed your change in expression, your change in body language. This revelation is private to you and you alone. You are the only person who knows that you've had this sudden moment of connection, understanding how your past has intersected with the others. And I mean, yeah, Niles, you can sit on that information until you've got Dream alone. Obviously, this is not a private space. I mean, as you realize this, you watch as a spore servant Duragar with a mushroom replacing. You okay, Ali?
Yeah. Frame fell down. Taking my light with it.
Oh no!
I did notice the shadows drop, and I was like, I think she's haunted.
I'm definitely haunted. Turn my camera off for a second.
4G. Yeah, Niles, as you sort of have this revelation, and maybe you even go to say something to Dream, you watch as a Duragar spore servant. I mean, one of the eyes, this like severed, wizened optic nerve hanging down as a mushroom has pushed out and replaced it. This glowing fungus cap walks past and stops right in front of you, and then turns a little bit, and then walks around you very slowly.
Yeah, I probably go, like, the thought comes to my mind, and I go to approach, exactly like that. I kind of like, but then I kind of take stock of where I am.
As the spore servant walks up.
Maybe this isn't the right time. I will wait. I'll give it a bit of time. What else is happening at the moment?
So Ember's quite close to you as well. At this point, Ember is only probably about 5-10 meters away tops. Ember, you had been talking to Gobbledy, I believe it was, looking through the book. Obviously, you'd picked up the journal of Davian Hornsorrow, the researcher for the Society of Brilliance, realizing that probably these other 3 drawings that match the drawing of the cache that you found probably represent caches. You had just spoken to Gobbledy about whether he recognized one of the places, and luckily enough, he did. And apparently it's not too far from the Sverfniblin village.
That's the one. So, going through the book and everything like that, did we find any other details that the gnomes thought were interesting that nothing they've ever noticed before as well?
At this point, you've only shown him the 3 drawings. If you did want to spend a bit of time going through the book with Gobbledy, now would be a great time to do that. I'll get you to roll me, please, I'm going to say investigation or perception, just because you'll be looking out for key details to point out to Gobbledy as well while he flicks through it with you, and I'll roll for Gobbledy, obviously.
Yeah, perfect. That's a 16.
16. Alrighty, not a bad roll for Gobbledy either. 14 for Gobbledy. As the two of you together begin sort of moving through the book, Gobbledy sort of like looking through. Yes, I do remember that. Seems like a description of some underdark beasties. This one with the tentacles sounds like an aboleth.
No,
do you have aboleths on the surface, lad?
Not that I've run into myself personally.
Imagine, if you will, you know what an octopus is? A squid.
Looking at it, no. Yes, I do.
Well, think about one a wee bit larger, and with the intelligence of a gnome or a drow or a dwarf. Intelligence of you and I, sometimes smarter. Certainly smarter than some Duergar I know. They're cunning beasties, live in the deep, dark depths of the Dark Lake. But have heard of colonies, societies of them further out as well. They tend not to stray too far from water. But they're dangerous, very dangerous. But they can be talked and reasoned with in rare circumstances. If you find yourself at the mercy of an aboleth, you may be able to make a bargain to save your life if you're lucky. If you're unlucky, they'll drain you completely.
Oh. Do you know what they're normally interested in? Just, in case I do run into this one, do they normally look for anything in particular?
Well, normally it's tasks. They might trade a task. They might need you to accomplish something for them. Sometimes it's items of magic. I've heard that some aboleths can use the magic and items for things. I'm not sure exactly what. I have to say I've been lucky enough to actually go without my path crossing an aboleth so far.
Oh. Well, hopefully we don't cross one on the way to your village.
Aye, that would be very unfortunate if we did. That would be most unfortunate. But the borders of the Sverfniblin village, they're well guarded. We may not be tough in a fight on our own, but we're very cunning, very good with our fingers, making traps, and when we don't want to be seen, very rare for creatures to find us. Our scouts have done a very good job mapping most of these caverns for a long time.
Perfect. All right. Well, I think we should probably take off once we've all had a bit of a rest. I know that I'm feeling a little bit worn down. How about you, Niles? Lyra, are you? Do you need a little bit of a rest as well?
I need a nap.
Yes, I could do a little bit of a nap. But I'm not feeling too bad. I'm feeling pretty spry still. But if the rest of the party wants to have a bit of a rest, I won't say no.
I wouldn't mind. I'm feeling a little bit drained magically.
Oh, okay.
Bartholomew looks up from his work with Gook. I am not too tired, but magically, yes, I am somewhat depleted, and I wouldn't mind some more time to work on my amulet with Gook. We're having rather a pleasant conversation, and I'm very much leaning on her expertise with this amulet. And if we could spend some time before heading out, I certainly wouldn't complain.
Oh, if everyone seems to be after a rest, then why not? We'll start fresh and we'll head to the gnome village when we can.
Perfect. Obviously, day and night are concepts that don't really apply in the Underdark. But I was about to say, if you weren't planning on having a long rest now, it has been some time since your last. I was going to start applying points of exhaustion, so this is a very well done and beautiful segue into a long rest. All of you may take a long rest. While you are doing that, who looks the happiest? Ali looks pretty happy. Could you roll me a D100, please, Ali?
Oh, yay! D100.
This is for refusing to explain your reasons for not being excited for Avatar. 87. Okay, brilliant. Let's have a bit of a peekaroo. Okay. Alrighty. Please apply all benefits that you would get from your long rest as you begin to settle down. Obviously, where Zaylin is staying on the cavern wall, there are carved out sections where you could rest in moderate shelter. I mean, some of the cave walls even have curtains that have been erected to help close them off. Zaylin's little area, of course, she's actually assembled some Zirkwood walls out the front and a door to close it off. Speaking of which, yeah, Harry's. I mean, you guys last saw Harry talking with Zaylin. During your long rest, Harry does re-emerge from having chatted with Zaylin and comes and joins you to have a bit of a nap. But yeah, where would you guys all like to try and kit down for a sleep? Would you be heading to the cavern walls? Would you just be staying in the Myconid Circle, in the very center of the circle?
I think Lyra would probably lean close to the Myconid Circle, but she does have that mold earth, and so if there's sort of nowhere sort of suitable, like a nice little cave that we can, be protective, wall ourselves off and stuff, she would probably sort of make one, or, if there is already like a little mini cave or something, she might expand on it.
So the walls of the cavern are still within the circle. They're just, they're not right in the very center where the Myconids are, and it seems like it's more used for storage rather than shelter. But there are empty caverns. I mean, you could very easily mold earth a smaller entrance to cut down and make this area.
I was even thinking making like a door, like sort of leaving a bit of an air gap so that we don't all suffocate, but sort of a bit of protection, a bit of privacy.
Absolutely, you can absolutely do that. Perfect. In that case, then, as you guys make your way over, the cavern that is the easiest to reach, that is the first one you spy, is about 3 to the left of Zaylin's and 1 down. Obviously, Zaylin's is raised up a little bit. There's that stairway up. Yours is on the ground level. This one clearly was once used for some sort of storage. It looks like maybe it was once used to store the barrel stalks. The large fungal stalks that actually hold water in them, almost like a cactus, basically. But this one has been cleared out. Whatever was stored here is long gone. But you can see the circular dust marks where clearly barrel stalks were once placed. Lyra, it probably takes you about a minute, because you get 6 seconds, right, to cast. It's like a 5-foot cube you can do it. So I'd say, probably 10 rounds, so 60 seconds, about a minute to fill in the walls and create a stone doorway with some little windows at the top to allow for airflow. I guess you could do top and bottom, so that way you're sort of keeping the room very well ventilated for temperature control. As the hot air rises, it displaces the air at the top, which pushes out, which pulls cold air in underneath. Perfect. So yeah, it's a very, very comfortable shelter that you guys make. You roll out your bedrolls. It's still quite warm. Most of the Underdark in this area where you are now does seem to be fairly warm. It's much higher up than the Dark Lake. It doesn't have that deep chill that a lot of the depths seem to have. Yes, Lyra.
And before we fall asleep, I renew Animate Dead on Tim, because it's probably been
Excellent.
about that 24 hours.
That was one of my questions I was going to get to. I didn't want to like outright say, do you renew it? But I was going to say, as you go to lie down, Lyra, you notice Tim's twitching a little bit. And as you call out, he turns towards you and aggressively snarls. Something seems wrong.
Yeah,
that's perfect.
She
Good
ups
use of,
that before the long rest.
Actually,
So we don't get eaten.
you're casting Animate Dead.
Yeah.
Okay, something happens.
Oh no.
Oh, it's your first use of Animate Dead since the connection with the Sovereigns.
Ooh.
As all of you get into position, lie down. I love the idea of Lyra, like having finished off this little shelter area that you've created, pull out your bedrolls, all getting ready for bed. It's at that moment you kind of just remember, oh, Tim, I've got to renew Tim's spell. And as you go to cast the magic, the spell, which originally you thought was Speak with Dead, but I think you now pretty much understand is Animate Dead.
Yeah.
Especially after
Feel like she
speaking of the
fucked up.
Myconids. Yeah. As you go to cast the spell, without summoning him, you watch as Swampy begins to rise. All of you see the hand emerge first, pulling itself up onto Lyra's shoulder, then the second hand, and as Swampy pulls himself free, rising above you, almost like emerging from your back and hovering over you like a shadow on the wall behind you. You can see that Swampy's form matches that of Lyra's much more closely. It would almost be correct to say, actually, Swampy looks a lot
So we can't
like
call him
Lyra.
he anymore.
We probably can't call Swampy. Well, whatever.
It.
They. Whatever. Who cares? Swampy. You watch as Swampy rises from your back, looking much more like you. A reflection of you. Almost like it's been grown from lichen and moss and fungi. And as those eyes open once again, you see the glowing pits, very, very similar to the Myconids. And as the spell begins to weave around your hands, what does Animate Dead look like for you? I'll feed this in around.
Probably slow, like sort of a slow creeping of cordyceps mushrooms, like anywhere where like a little spore has sort of probably landed. It just sort of, the cordyceps just sort of slightly grow around a little bit more, and then just sort of into whatever it's inhabiting.
Brilliant. That fits in so nicely. As you hold your hands out, Swampy above you, arms raised, almost looks like a second set of arms, almost like you have 4 arms creating these movements as Swampy matches your movements exactly. Spores shedding from its palms, they begin to slowly coalesce. And Lyra, you feel a sudden pain in your right hand, just for a moment, just this sting. And as you look, the point where the Myconids had embedded the spores, you can see the skin push back and the small tendrils of mushroom filaments slowly begin to reach forward. And as the spores begin to fly forward towards Tim, you watch as they rapidly grow. The tendrils of white mycelium almost push through the skin. You watch as a section of Tim's cheek cuts open. And as the tendrils force their way through in and begin reattaching the jaw, which had partially fallen off, Tim's condition, this reanimated corpse, which had been slowly decomposing over the past 48 hours since you animated him, the fungi replaces the missing parts. Lyra, you may now use the Spore Servant stat block. I will send it to you now for Tim.
Yay!
Wow.
Cool.
That's cool.
And as the spell finishes and the magic fades, Tim stands there in front of you. The bracket fungus growing out of that cut on his cheek, the mushrooms and mycelium completely covering him, forming almost like a chitinous armor of mushroom filaments across his body. And Swampy slowly sinks back down into your symbiotic entity. Slowly sinks back in, the eyes once again closing, the glow fading from them.
That's so cool.
That's
I think,
what
I
happens.
just sort of take a close look at Swampy, like probably just poke him, like, yeah, not Swampy, sorry, Tim. I'm just like, you're still friendly, mate.
The reanimated corpse, powered by mushroom magic, nods. and there is no more response.
You know how like the Myconids have like the rapport spores, like, and you know you can sort of communicate vibes and whatnot. Can Lyra sort of try getting like a bit of a vibe check from Tim? Like, you know, does he sort of have any more in the way of responses? Like,
yeah.
Or is it still kind of like trying to talk to a bit of a brick wall that slightly animates sometimes?
That's a really good question. Could I have you please roll me? I'm gonna say insight as you kind of use the rapport spores to make this magical connection. Yeah.
Say. Oh no.
I think insight. That's an 8. Lyra, this is all kind of new for you in a way. This understanding of your magic, your magic as a spore druid, and whatever connection you have from your time in the Twilight Woods to the Myconids. You're sure there's something else there. You can almost feel it at the edge of your consciousness. But you just can't quite break through. Whatever that connection is, you're just not ready for it yet. Or too distracted. I mean, there's a lot going on around you. Could be tuck it out. It's been a big 18 hours since your last long rest. Like, there's a lot of reasons why this might not be working.
Oh, I think she sort of, you know, make sure he's all right and then packs it up.
I'm going to say as you sort of like check over Tim, this is the point where Harry wanders back in from having his chat with Zaylin. And as he wanders back in munching on some sort of bizarre root vegetable that's almost like a fluorescent pastel-like purple colour, as Harry's sort of munching on this large root vegetable, not dissimilar to a carrot, his little Harrengon ears free of his hood and twitching around, listening acutely to the sounds of the cavern walls. As he wanders in and looks, he sort of does a double take as he looks at Tim and goes, "Yeah, he looks a bit different, Lyra."
A little mushroomy, eh?
Is he all okay? What's going on?
Yeah, you know, like, I recast the keeps him from attacking us spell, and it kind of came out a little bit more mushrooming than last time. Probably has something to do with the Myconids here, though.
Yeah,
Surely,
that makes sense.
Probably all normal. Probably nothing to worry about.
Are you, like, I've got a question, Lyra. Do you think this is nothing to worry about? Or have the events of the last sort of 2 hours... is Lyra not worried about this? Or is there a part of you that is a little bit concerned?
She's not worried in the slightest. Like, not only, you know, the past, whatever happened in the past 2 hours, but literally, like, the past 2... Has it been months for her? Like, has just been one insane event after the other, and it's just sort of, you know, once one crazy thing has happened, then it kind of just, you know, it's not really peeking past that anymore. So she's like, okay, this is a thing now. Cool.
I mean, you're in the Feywilds. From Lyra's perspective, it's very hard to keep track of time in the Feywilds. Time acts and moves differently there. So... it is very hard for you to know how long you were there for, but I'd say, what do you reckon, Ali? Lyra, from her perspective, maybe a couple of months it felt like in the Feywilds? I'd say it felt longer than it actually was, definitely.
Yeah,
long enough that you were able to change your entire Druid circle, right? Like.
Yeah. So probably 6 months minimum then, yeah.
Yeah, okay. In that case then, yeah. So this has all kind of been going a bit crazy since... Yeah,
she got locked in the gym.
Since you were locked in the gym, yeah. There's been a lot going on. Like there's a lot to process. There's a lot sort of happening here. Yeah, I guess in the grand scheme of things, you have to worry about having a bit more power over your spore servants, or being able to create a spore servant. Probably isn't high on the agenda of things to be concerned about. That makes sense. That checks out.
Weird hold in hand. All right. Weird stone in the other. Cool. Why not?
Yeah. To be fair, you did volunteer for the first one. Ember. While Lyra is mucking around with the spore servant and the creation of her zombie friend, after going through the books with Gobledy and having a bit of a chance to examine them and understand them, what would Ember be doing?
Look, a little bit of light reading before bed. So literally going through that book again, just trying to see if everything matches up with what I'm used to seeing in my understanding of the Underdark. So looking for anything that might jump out to me that maybe one of the gnomes might have just thought was normal for their area. and essentially trying to plan out what my next movements will be. So I know that we're going to their city or their town, whatever they want to call it, and just preparing myself for what.
Let's say.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of what I'd be doing. And after also seeing Tim, I might have also used my planet growth just to grow up a couple of vines and things like that around to make us all feel a bit safer.
No, fair enough. You've spent a bit of time with this journal that you rescued from the Society of Brilliance. You don't need to roll any more for examining this. I think you've already rolled twice now for examining this book, and you've rolled above a 15 both times. So you have become very familiar with the contents of this book. Settling down for a bit of light reading, the one thing you've kind of been lacking to get a lot of information out of this is time. A bit of downtime to really absorb the contents of the book. And as you take a bit of a moment, rather than flicking through looking for key phrases or drawings that stand out to you, you actually read this. The account that Davian Horn's Sorrow paints is... this journal, at first, probably you would have thought was similar to the notes that you'd found in the hidden cache. Maybe it was similar in that it had some diagrams which indicated it was much more of a scientific journal, but as you read through this is actually very clearly his personal journal. And while he did occasionally jot down observations of creatures, observations of flora, theories about some of the aspects of the Underdark, more than anything else, this is an account of his experience since leaving the Society of Brilliance Tower to go off on this research project. And the most interesting thing you learn early on is that he didn't leave the tower alone. He did leave with a friend. He doesn't mention them by name. He only calls them the Orc. And it seems like they parted very early on. Hence, maybe even before he started writing the journal. As you read through it, it's not exactly clear, but whatever their falling out was, Davian never again referred to this person by name. And there was quite a bit of bad blood lost between them. It sounded like Davian blamed this person for his misfortune, for being stuck out there without many supplies, and about partway through his account, probably about a week or two into this research outing at this cache, Davian loses contact with the tower, with the Wizard's Tower where the Society of Brilliance are headquartered. And while he doesn't make it plain how anxiety-provoking this is for him, you can see the style of writing changes. He keeps coming back to this idea, hypothesizing about what could have happened, why communication was cut, which indicates that there was a bit of anxiety there for him. The rest of the notes start to talk about the Kuo-Toa and his observations of them, mentioning that despite the fact he was out there looking for the Susur trees, he eventually gets quite sidetracked by the Kuo-Toa and their strange rituals around this old mural site. And the final entry, as you know, which you read before, was that he was going to investigate a little bit closer and see if he could understand what was happening in the Kuo-Toa village.
Okay, so the date where he said the communication was disrupted, is there actually a date provided, or is it just...
He hasn't noted the journal by any date system that you recognize. Actually, sorry, can you roll me a history check? Apologies.
Sure can.
Who knows? You might have an incredible...
15?
15, okay. The date system written here, obviously it's very hard to track days in an underground environment of perpetual darkness. It's very, very hard to track the passing of time. It looks like the system used to track time here revolves around the emergence and disappearance of certain plants. So it looks like from what you can sort of glean and from what you've understood after speaking with the Myconids, after speaking with the Svirfneblin, it seems like time is somehow tracked here. There's a specific type of blooming fungus that produces a soft glow, which is kind of seen as being equivalent to the daytime. Now, the year and the month make no sense. The year seems to be something called the gloaming. No idea what that means. There's no year recorded. It's just this sort of like season almost of the gloaming. And the date, it seems like it was the 15th day of the gloaming. What that means, you have no idea. Ember, what languages do you speak, just out of interest?
I speak Common, Druidic, Elvish, and Giant.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. That checks
Okay,
out.
so there's no other languages or anything like that in there, I'm guessing? It might be something else I'm not noticing?
Technically, the word gloaming would have been in undercommon, but I already said it, so now it's not. Now it's in common.
Oh, okay.
Because I already said it.
Fair enough.
Not bad.
I was going to say, there's not much else I can do with this book, so it's good that I got that information. At least I know when I get to the society, I can ask a few questions. So, yeah, with that, I'd probably just, hunt down for the night and get ready for a big day.
The only other thing I'll add is that Davian refers to the tower where the Society of Brilliance have set up their headquarters. He refers to it as the Tower of Enlightenment.
Okay. Perfect.
It's an ASMR keyboard clapping. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Niles,
Yes.
anything you would be doing before you take your long rest? Just because something happens, obviously, from that dice roll. I haven't forgotten the dice roll. I made them roll. And I just need to know what all of you are doing for the downtime so that I can then describe what happens with this dice roll.
I mean, I think Niles still realizing that, we're obviously the report spores are all here. There's a lot of people knowing what's going on. Obviously, the information, the revelation from a few hours ago now, still very fresh in Niles' mind. But I guess just the thought of home, actually, probably Niles just probably takes stock of like the situation that he's in. He was so headstrong to join the Tempest Guild, and he hasn't really had a lot of time to actually reflect back and think about home. So yeah, he's probably just kind of quietly mulling over his thoughts. Almost probably, I would say, doing what Niles has been trained to do, which is basically to sort of go into a meditative state, kind of do the whole mind palace thing, where he kind of walks through his mind temple, I guess he would have, and sort of start to recount and recollect his memories, just to try and sort of help to piece together this broader story of what's going on with Bart and Dream and just sort of thinking about everything that could have transpired, because obviously now that he's realized that he kind of knew Bart's significant other, he's now beginning to think, well, how did he end up here? Why was he in the Underdark in the first place? There's a whole story, I guess, behind that. And I think before Niles actually sort of talks to Bart about it, he wants to sort of recollect and think about his entire journey and obviously, yeah, that sort of side of things as well.
Now, did we give your master a name, or have we not done that yet?
I don't believe we have.
Did you have one in mind that you would like to use, or would you like me to?
No, not at all. I kept that purposely quite vague.
Okay. Brilliant.
Yep.
Okay, let's quickly pull open some Owlin names. Tell me if any one of these really stands out to you. Breja, Breja. I don't mind that one. Otherwise, Leonor sounds a bit elvish.
Yeah, it's a bit elvish.
Silas?
Ooh, I like that.
I like Silas a lot, actually.
That's a good name.
Done.
I like that.
Let's go with Silas. Yeah, so Silas was a screech owl appearing Owlin. Much older. If he was a human, he would have looked like he was in his 60s, maybe even early 70s. For an Owlin, this translates to greying feathers, the beak sort of wearing down a bit, sections where the sharp, pointy section of the beak is actually worn down through years of use, and the claws somewhat filed back a little bit as well. Welcome, Jared. Perfect timing.
Sorry, everyone. I was a bit late. I've just been very busy.
You've had a haircut too. I like it.
Had a haircut, yeah.
I had a haircut and I'm embracing my curls a bit. I normally
Girls get the
straighten
girls.
it, but
It's a well-known fact.
It's true.
it's a bit problematic when I already have a girlfriend.
Girls keep the girls.
Girls keep
Done.
their girls.
They got you a girl.
Girls got you girls. Girls got you girl.
Yeah. You gotta say it in the past tense.
Matt, you remember me in high school, earlier high school. I had curly hair.
Yeah, man.
Before the emo wave swept the high school.
One might say curlier
Yes.
on when he had... Sorry.
But anyway, sorry everyone that I'm late. Had to help my brother move, like I said, a dishwasher across town. So
No,
Was it a
no
dishwasher?
trouble.
It's a washing machine.
washing machine.
Can't keep his story straight.
My bad. I'm sorry. I'm just frazzled.
Deception
I don't
check.
even know your household appliances. Goodness gracious.
I scoffed down my food. I'm here. Let's go. What's happening? So sorry.
No, you're all good. Yeah, okay, let's go with Silas for your mentor's name then Niles. Niles, as you are taking a moment to kind of, I guess, almost center yourself and realign what you now know with what you used to know, do you want to roll me a history check? I just want to kind of see if there's any new revelations that come to you, any new experiences.
Oh, you know me with my very, very high history, which is a -1, but we'll give
Hey,
it a
could
go.
be okay.
Lovely.
Could be okay. That's
Oh,
a
no.
1. That's a 2 minus 1 is 1.
Yeah.
Niles, I mean, really, at the moment, you're kind of reeling from the knowledge that you might have actually met Bartholomew before this day, and you
Yes.
can't remember that. And that's a little bit awkward.
It is a little awkward. It's kind of probably. I like to think that Niles is doing this whole like lotus stance, like trying to reset his thoughts, trying to do all of this stuff, but like deep down he's like, oh fuck, what's his name? Why did I? Who is this guy? Like, like you know how you like you're going into a meeting or something and you're like, oh wait, what's the guy's name again? Oh jeez, it's gonna be awkward.
I know that beak.
Yeah.
I recognize that plumage. I know this owl. Why do I not remember them?
Yeah, it's a very awkward situation.
I think that's very appropriate.
Yeah.
You struggle to hold on to any sense of zen, to maintain any sort of calm, while on the outside you look like you are at one with yourself and the universe. On the inside, you're spiraling. You're like, has he been here this whole time? Like, does he know my master? Like, maybe Silas trained him. How do I not remember? Did I train with any other people? I did train with other people. I don't remember him, though.
Exactly what is happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of spiraling.
Bit of
like
a
bird in the air. Just, woo! Yeah.
Threign. Jared, at this point, everyone has bunkered down for a long rest. Lyra has used mold earth to seal off one of the caves in the Myconid Circle wall a little bit, one of the cavern walls. Yep. She's used that to seal off one of the hollow points to make it a bit more comfortable and a bit more private. She then went to cast Animate Dead to renew her control over Tim, which resulted in Tim taking on a much more Spore Servant-like appearance, and Swampy rising from her back and assisting with this, that same Myconid glow where the eyes should be, and then sinking back down again once more. Still looking a lot like Lyra. Swampy now, that symbiotic entity, looking like a copy of Lyra, made of, spores, mushrooms, mycelium, lichen, and moss. Looking, very, very different. Ember's flicking through a book at the back and casting plant growth, creating a little wall of vines between him and the zombified Tim. Harry's wandered back from chatting to Zaylin and is munching on some sort of purple root vegetable, and Niles is meditating, looking calm and peaceful. You are sure that in his mind it is a tranquil pond, undisturbed by the currents and eddies of lesser, unenlightened people.
Well, let's throw a spanner in those works.
Oh no. Oh no.
I'm gonna come up right next to you.
Oh dear.
Start poking you. So,
this might explain
what
the
is
one.
What is this about my god being dead?
Yeah, I wondered if this might come up as a topic.
I feel like it's a good time now to bring it up.
Yes. I wondered when we might get to discuss this.
So just for context, I'm already kind of spiraling, trying to figure out what's going on. And I break out of this trance and I see Threign, and I'm like, yes, Threign. So I mean, I don't know for sure, but yes, no. When we took a little visit into the crystal and went back to visit that memory, there was something that happened, and I'm not quite sure what exactly it was, but there was almost like a voice that said that a certain entity had been destroyed, and when we inquired about that to the being inside of the crystal, a little bit hard to explain, but they said that was a Nam. So, yeah, I don't know if that's true, but...
Wait, so a Nam, the All-Father, the god of the giants, was... What is... You say deleted, what does that mean?
Oh,
I think I would come across that terminology.
I meant eliminated, like ceased.
But how? No one could eliminate him. He is the Allfather.
I don't doubt that. From what I've heard, Anam is quite a powerful entity, but it begs the question that there could be other forces out there at play that we're not aware of.
That's actually a good point. Threign, I mean, the Goliath religions, the Goliath religion very closely follows that of the Giants, and the mythology, while having undergone some changes just because of the sheer amount of time it's been since the Giants vanished, it's still quite closely aligned. And I would say that one of the facts of the myth, if that makes any sense, or one of the themes in the myths, is that Anam really is the only true god of Nostea. He was the creator of Nostea, the creator of the Giants. Anam is the only real god. These others are primordials or just really big dragons. Like Bahamut's just a big dragon, really. Like, let's be honest. I mean, they're not real gods. These other ones, they came later.
Oh, jeez.
They didn't create. They were. Yeah.
Niles.
Yes, sir.
I think you're misinformed. He is the Allfather, the creator, the most strongest of, well, the only god. Everyone else is just an intimidation, a false copy of him.
What? Hang on. No.
There's only one god, and it's Anam. It's just facts.
Niles kind of recoils a little bit at this, considering the Eris theocracy is quite grounded in this.
The Eris theocracy is an interesting one, because the Owlin and Aarakocra don't have any patron deities.
True, okay.
Because you're from the elemental plane of air. I mean, the word theocracy almost is a bit of a misnomer. It's the word that's been come to associate with Eris, but really, it's belief in the natural primordial chaos itself, specifically in the chaos of the air and wind, and that air is the life bringer, the change bringer. There's no god per se of the Eris theocracy. It's more an understanding of enlightenment and an understanding of becoming one with the element itself. Like you are born, you live in a world of chaos, you die, and your body is recycled back into the cycle again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in that case, I'm probably not as shocked by this. I sort of mull it over a little bit. And...
there would be some Owlin and some Aarakocra who may have converted to Melora, goddess of the wilds and storms. That's probably the closest. And Melora has quite a large following amongst the Meloran orcs on Nostea. A group of people who, in terms of disposition, probably get along quite well in general with the Owlin and Aarakocra. This idea of freedom, of living without bonds, and so maybe there would be some who would follow the path of Melora. It's up to you whether the Silverwind family are religious. I mean,
no, the Silverwind family are very like down the line Eris theocracy individuals. I guess they wouldn't really. I mean, they are a learned family. They do a lot of trading, so they would have definitely heard of deities and other gods belonging to other races. But so like, I think Niles is probably still a little like, that's a bit of an interesting take. But say that you're correct. And I do know that the gods, the giants did have a great deal in the creation of Nostea. But Threign, the mosaic, the way that it was done, like there could have been other places, other worlds with their own gods that they could have forged. What's to say that the other gods didn't have it out for a Nile in some sort of, I don't know.
They're not really gods.
War.
They're just more primordials or giant dragons. It's not gods.
But in the scope of the world of the universe.
Well, look, I can't speak for the universe. I don't know this. I lived up north. That is what I've known. What other realms? I don't know. Maybe there are gods over there. But for this one, there's only one god. And actions speak louder than words. This hearsay that you've heard, this rumor, is just that at the moment. No proof.
Of course.
We don't know.
Of course.
I believe in my god. I think he's alive. I feel him within me. And until I see otherwise, I will not listen to words from some weird crystal that, I don't know, like, I know it's giant tech and such, but I have
Hmm.
more to learn about this stuff, and I wouldn't take everything at face value.
Oh no, I wouldn't suggest that at all. I like I said, it's only what I heard. I don't know if it is truth. There is many mysteries.
Are you under attack from a poltergeist, Ali?
I think I am. He's blowing around the garage doors and shit.
Oh my goodness.
If you need to rush off and make a sacrifice, you go do it, all right?
Yeah, better go get the sage.
Oh,
Yeah,
I guess
just-
you could do
just-
that too.
Just smudge it, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is?
Just
You
soul
just-
circle around your desk.
How do you smudge sage? Do you just like rub it on stuff? How does that work?
You,
I don't know,
You set
I'm
it on
just doing-
fire.
That's
Yeah,
not
that's
smudging
just
then,
smudge
is it? That's
sticks.
burning. Let's be honest.
That's just smudge sticks from Phasma. So.
Yeah. That's
Oh
it.
yeah.
Man, I miss Phasmophobia. We should play again sometime soon.
I've
We should
actually been
get-
playing it a lot lately.
Oh, we should get the Ghostbusters back in. That was great
Oh
fun.
my god.
The Death Detectives. That was
fun.
it. I got so bullied for that name.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yes. So I guess Niles sort of just says, "Oh, no, I didn't. There is so much of a mystery behind this. Don't get me wrong. I did not mean to state it as truth, merely conjecture at this point. But no.
I would be careful what you say though, without the proper backing. Empty words you throw around that. I would be,
mean-
and I, you actually feel this tone come over Threign with a little bit of like sternness to it. And I'm not saying threatening, but just sternness. He
To be
considers
fair,
you a friend.
About
like,
2 sessions
so-
ago, Jared said, I don't want to kill Niles, but... and I quote. So just keep that in mind.
Niles sees
Maybe
this.
at that moment, Threign had some thoughts, but he's
Yeah.
caught up. These
up a little bit.
these are his like these are his friends. He loves his friends. Like,
And
so-
deep down, Threign, you know that there is a bit of a mystery around why Anum doesn't intervene anymore. And it's kind of one of those things that is glossed over within Goliath society.
Well, I think that would
Why
explain
is
like
Anum not answering prayers.
I think
Where
that's
has
like
he
why
gone?
Threign was like in after hearing it. I don't think that's why he was just like up. It's nothing sort of thing.
Get the
Like
mullet
there
over a
was that like time where he was mulling over it, thinking about it. I think he's come to like the affirmation of just no, he's alive, he's well, he's somewhere, he's with me, blah blah blah. So I think
And
he's,
if you
like,
did
stuck
have
to his
doubts,
God.
like it makes sense you would be saying out loud, I have no doubts.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it makes perfect sense. A lot of people, that's how most people are.
And what Niles said probably hit him because it's like,
Yeah.
well, there is this whole mystery of Anum. So like, with Niles just casually going, oh well, Anum's actually dead.
Pretty sure
It's
Anum's
like-
dead, mate.
so they just
doesn't even
just
go
throwing
here.
it around like it was nothing. It's like,
Well, I mean, by Owen's own volition, my knowledge of other gods is not as strong. So
oh, well, it makes sense. You would not know much about the giant
true.
god.
I wouldn't know how involved you are in it. But anyway, no. So Niles probably sees this and sort of goes, but no, don't get to me. You are correct. I should have probably held my I shouldn't have spoken so out of turn. I did not mean to offend. But in any case, the crystal is strange. We've only been back to visit one memory once. It'll be interesting to see if we do get the opportunity to go back and
I look
this.
forward to seeing this experience, and
Yes, I think you would
I look
appreciate
also
it.
forward to meeting this entity, whatever it is, and punching it in the face
Ooh,
for
I don't.
spouting such nonsense.
You can certainly try. I think that entity has a pretty strong handle. Well, I shouldn't say strong handle. He's a bit. Well, no, he might not. He might not be able to fight back. I actually don't know what's going on with that. It's a bit of a story. I could catch you up with it if you want.
We can do that as like a. We
Yeah,
fill
yeah,
that
yeah.
in over time.
I guess maybe now I can kind of recount a little bit to Threign
Well,
about
to
that
light the tension,
experience.
though, what I'll do is I'll like, well, look, we can talk about it later. But like, I go,
Yeah.
But look, we're good.
Oh, good. Excellent.
And I grab you in like a
Oh,
and I give you a noogie.
No.
Ooh, with
And a wet willy.
feathers too.
I really would go, but
Careful.
And you've got the like the almost like
Yes.
like very eel-like.
They do. The very like elongated triangle.
oh man,
Yeah.
I ruffled them up so much.
Ah, no. Threign! No. The plumage! Watch out! Oh! Those
Just
look
laughing
hideous!
about it. But yeah, then we'll
My-
calm down.
my
I'll offer
prize
you some
fellas.
food,
Oh.
and then I imagine we'll have a chat just about some of the stuff. Catch me up on the memory and stuff.
Yeah. Because I guess we haven't really had a chance to really like.
Don't need to
fill you
roleplay
in
because everyone's
too
been
much.
through it mostly. But
Yeah. I mean, like obviously but yeah, I think in game we probably I catch you up a little bit on the
Yep.
events prior to you meeting us. Yeah,
Perfect.
which I don't think we've
And-
done. So yeah, we did definitely do that.
Yeah. Oh look, downtime for a long rest. Perfect time to do it, right?
Absolutely.
And while we're
All of
talking,
you
I'll be doing
may-
push-ups
oh,
and sit-ups and stuff.
Doing some
Yeah, cool.
burpees, getting
I
those
probably
sick
do the
gains.
same. You know what? Fuck it. Yeah, if we're
Oh
recalling,
hell yeah, baby!
if we're recalling this information, it's just an impromptu gym session.
It ends up sort of being like where we one up each other. Like maybe I start doing one-handed push-ups, maybe you start doing like
Yeah.
sort of handstand push-ups, and like we just sort of keep one-ing up at each other.
I like to imagine that like you handle the strength-based exercises really well, and then but then like anything that requires a bit of dexterity, I handle that really well. And
Well, literally, like I think we'll talk
Yeah.
about this on Monday night, but yet again, the Terry Crews thing, not being able to do yoga. You can do yoga.
Oh
have, like,
yeah. Yeah.
Love a good
can't do
Brooklyn
yoga.
Nine-Nine reference. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's probably what it
Exactly
is.
right.
I probably even try and do some of your stuff and then end up hurting my back and then shuffling away.
Amazing. I love it.
Perfect.
Niles, actually, that's actually kind of perfect. You spending a bit of time working out. You hear in the back of your mind your mentor's voice. When your mind is unquiet, you may quiet it and reach your center by performing katas or movements. Let your physical body take over from your mind. Your mind will quiet in its turn.
Come on, let's go. Push it harder. Come on. So sorry, Owen, but I had to.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah. That's great.
Brilliant. Now, Lyra, I shouldn't say Lyra, Ali, you rolled an 87 on the D100, didn't you?
Ooh yeah.
Okay.
Just double checking.
I just pulled it open. As all of you head down for bed, you watch as Bartholomew, who's working away at this little amulet that he's working on, goes, I am happy to keep watch while you sleep, and once you wake, I can take a second shift or sleep.
I only
sleep
need
second.
4 hours down, so
Well, enjoy your 4 hours down, and when you are awake, I will sleep in place.
thank you.
Perfect. As all of you drift off to sleep, at first, your sleep is untroubled by dreams. And then all of you begin to feel the edge of consciousness in this limbo state between awake and asleep. You begin to feel this pull, a sense of connection, sense of time passing by quickly. And as you awaken, you find yourselves once again staring at the bright sunlight streaming in from windows on either side.
Oh dear.
Large stone vaulted walls, a beautifully carved intricate ceiling high above, the beams etched with runic symbols. Giant runic symbols.
Okay. I see what's going on here.
80 to 90, you will experience a giant dream.
Oh, that's cool.
That's so good because I was just telling Threign. Oh.
Yeah.
When you started doing it, my face was like, oh my god!
I even said something like, "Oh, I'm looking forward to when we experience something," and then bang.
That's great.
Yeah, I
That's
didn't even
so
try
fun.
and pretend to have a poker face in that instance. I was like,
That's fantastic.
and to explain Harry and Bartholomew's absence, I'm going to say they're both awake and don't experience this dream.
Oh yeah.
As Bartholomew keeps watching Harry's enjoying his root vegetable snack. Unfortunately, you need to be asleep to be able to connect with the stones.
Heck yeah.
So,
Ali.
Lyra technically can't sleep.
But you go into a trance, so your mind
Okay.
goes into like an unconscious state.
All right, sweet. I was just
That's
like, I'm
enough.
like, oh no, can you be excluded from it?
It's you just have to be like, essentially you have to be unconscious per se, like you no longer have your conscious mind engaged. Elven trance is the same for Warforged, right? A Warforged would still be pulled into this despite the fact that they don't go asleep per se, they just go into like a low downtime. It's enough that your conscious mind is no longer perceiving the outside world in an active way, and that's when you start to perceive the internal world of the Heartstones. Alrighty. As your eyes adjust to the natural light much more quickly than you ever would if you had been emerging from a cave into bright sunlight, like it kind of feels like you have been, you find yourselves in an enormous long hall. The sound of waves crashing on the shore outside, cries of gulls. And as you examine the roof a bit more closely, you realize that it's not just worked wood. It's an entire longship. Huge, hundreds of feet long, turned upside down and converted into the roof for this dwelling. You can even see the points where the oars would once have been pushed through, and what you mistook for beams are actually seats carved out of the wood that rowers would have once sat upon. Where the mast once was, an enormous central pillar now pushes down into the earth, an enormous fire pit assembled around it, the edge of the mast now blackened and burned by continued exposure to fire and coals. The fire burns low in the hearth, the coals barely glowing with a soft light. The smell of sea salt on the breeze, the crisp morning air tells you that you're not somewhere familiar. As you open your eyes and look around, you see 4 figures. Vaguely familiar. You know that you're looking at each other. You can feel it, same as it was last time. There's this kind of like a ghostly overlay for a moment as you stare at each other before the perception of this reality pushes through again, and you instead see the giant forms that you had taken before, now taken once again.
Okay, so I'm gonna...
Threign, this is your first time.
Yes, so first things first. Threign's never had any giant dreams. I just want to get that as context.
Yep.
Okay, so this is a new thing for him.
I would say that you probably would have had when the Heartstone was first bonded to you, you probably would have had a giant dream. But I'd say maybe given the ceremony itself and the ritual, you weren't really allowed to fully immerse yourself in it. You were probably awoken from it quite quickly by the other Goliaths who were participating in the ritual with you. So there is something familiar about this sensation, even if your conscious mind can't fully remember being here before. But that connection to your ancestor, Ulfric, as you look down, your hands are frost giant blue.
Okay, so Threign has had a very small experience of this.
Yeah, a fleeting experience.
Okay, so it's not surprising or jarring for me. It still is, sort of, but okay, because I'm just trying to gauge what reaction I should do.
Yeah, and Ember, you were a fire giant, Niles, you were a cloud giant, and Lyra, you were a storm giant, if I remember correctly. Yeah, perfect.
Cool.
For the win, photographic memory. And I actually think I have all of your names on hand as well, if you needed to remember them. Jared, yours was Ulfric, Ali, yours was Corius, Matt, yours was Sindaris, Simon, yours was Eldir.
I can't forget Ulfric because it's literally my character's last name.
Yeah, Threign Ulfricson.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I had to connect them. It was really cool. But now I'll sort of look at my hands. I'm sort of looking at them, feeling them, moving them around, doing some stretches, and just sort of taking it all in, looking at the others. So this is what I was told about.
This is what I had mentioned to you just before.
Wait, what? Who are you?
You do.
I wouldn't actually know. Well, do I actually realize it's
so the first time you look at each other, there's this sort of like moment where the forms flicker, and you see Niles, only for Niles to be replaced by this cloud giant. There's this awareness. You know you're looking at Niles. You know you're talking to Niles, but when you go to say Niles' name, instead you say Corius. Or instead you say,
Okay.
was it Sindara? Sorry for Niles.
Actually,
Sindaris,
could I ask a
Sindaris.
favor? Could you put their names in the chat just so I can
Yeah,
put them
man,
in the
of
notes,
course.
just so I
Yeah,
can
got it.
remember that for future reference?
I'll do. Here we go. I'll do everyone as the
That-
table because I've got everyone.
I'll stick to what I said, but the moment I start sort of questioning the giant in front of me, and then I see Niles sort of flicker over the face, and I realize it's Niles, I'll sort of do a double take. Wait, are you also here because of the stone in your hand? So we're all here. And I look at the other two, I look at Ember, I look at Lyra.
Yes,
Well, here, but not here.
I believe so.
I wonder
Okay.
when we are this time.
This is what, indeed. Seems to be we're in some sort of vessel.
Okay, cool. And I've caught up with what you guys did last time, so I don't have to question that, which is nice.
The other thing as well I'd add for your benefit, Threign, it is not uncommon for Goliaths to, when a ship is old, when it has reached the end of its life, or if it has to be converted into a home for the winter, this is exactly how the Goliaths do it up north. You basically build up a large stone wall and then turn a ship upside down and turn it into the roof. This feels familiar, if anything else. Very familiar.
That's true. You did say stone wall, so we're definitely not on the ocean.
No, the ship is upside down. The
Yes.
roof is actually an upside down long ship.
Gotcha. Okay.
As Threign sort
Pasted
of
in the
looks
chat.
at his hands, perfect, thank you for that.
That's right. The
As he
editing,
sort of looks-
editing and formatting did not work. I had to manually type it out really quickly, so sorry about that. If I was
Sorry
absent
about
for a
that.
moment. Hey,
Sorry
Pepper.
for that.
Sorry, Gizmo. Sorry. I keep doing that, Simon. I'm so sorry.
It's okay, she can't hear you.
It's like the first name I knew her by is now hardwired into my brain.
I know.
Buddy.
Ugh.
Sorry. Please carry on, Threign.
No, that's fine. But I sort of look, I feel the power within, and I just let out this bellowing laugh. And I look at everyone else. Oh, this standing in my ancestors' shoes. What a story to tell around the campfire. No one will believe this back home.
So, Threign, you don't yet know that you're actually Ulfric. As far as you know, you're a frost giant. Until
Okay.
someone calls you, until someone tries to call you Threign, then you'll hear Ulfric for the first time.
I mean,
Let's retcon that to like.
it's still
That's
stands
okay.
though,
It's still
'cause you-
ancestors. You're a frost giant
still-
Goliath. Like
yeah,
that's still
true,
absolutely
true,
fine. There's no
true.
retconning
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
That's why I
yeah.
thought I'd jump in there and let you know.
No, easy done.
Yeah, it's only when someone tries to say Threign, that's when you're going
Yeah.
to hear Ulfric for the first time.
Cool.
But like, the dream thing, it's not unheard of in your family and your clan and stuff. I mean, surely someone's experienced this before. Would they really not believe you?
Well, Owen, actually, have I heard stories about other people doing this stuff too? I guess probably, actually, maybe.
Ooh,
There's
yeah.
stories of Goliaths reliving the past and seeing the past. They're known as seers. There hasn't been one in the Frost Goliath village for a very, very long time, at least 4 generations. Why that is,
okay.
no one knows. But there are stories.
Oh,
Probably
So
your
this is actually
grandmother.
pretty big.
Yeah, probably your grandmother would have told you about like her grandmother being friends with the last seer, and then that's it. There hasn't been.
This is a
another
good
one
question.
since.
So, like the stone I was given, has no one else been able to take to that? Like
None
what
of them
was
have bonded. So they like the story behind the stones is that they were a gift from the frost giants to their cousins, to their children, the frost Goliaths, and there's a connection to the seers. Do you want to roll me a history check and see how much you are able to remember? Because this isn't something that's talked about just amongst normal, like amongst just everyone. History's not your
10's
strong.
not too bad.
10's not too
considering
bad.
it's a
Okay, so-
-1.
That's okay. 10's not too bad at all. So yeah, there is definitely a connection. You're not aware of exactly what it is, but there is a connection between the stones and the seers. In fact, I'd even say on some of the wood carvings that you might have seen, on some of the paintings done among the village, the seers are often depicted as having a shining light in their palm. And
Oh,
I'd
that's
say
cool.
probably this is the point where Threign's like,
Oh.
yeah.
But so,
Hang
am
on a
I
second.
the first?
4
like,
generations.
Goliath, though,
You're the first Goliath seer. You're the
to
first
bond
seer,
with
as
it?
far as you know, in 4 generations.
Damn, that's cool. But I look at Lyra and, well, look, there were some that were known to bond with this stone, but it has not happened for a long time. I'm the first. So this feels great. What do we do? What did you guys? What happened? Like, I know the story. What do we do here? I'm looking around. I see the oars. I see the ship.
The inside of the room. Do you want to make me a perception or investigation check? So I only gave you a very large, obvious things that you see. Anyone who wants to make a perception or investigation check, now's a great time to do it.
Do we do that as our? Do we do that as our?
As your giants,
Wow.
please? Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Well, as our giants.
Oh,
please.
okay. Ignore that. Then I have to go.
Investigation.
Yes. 23,
Oh.
Lyra.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so whenever you're in the giant dream, you use the giant stat block. You use your giant echo.
Yep.
23, Lyra.
Oh, sorry.
Your keen storm giant senses. Natural 20 on the history check for Niles there. Are you doing a history check to sort of figure out the time period, trying to figure out when you are, what's going on around you, trying to date things, hey?
Well, it was a misclick, but yes, I will actually go with the history check.
Okay, cool.
That sounds great.
Sick. Easy as.
Yeah, amazing.
I like how
Exactly
OK
what I
Cool
said.
has triggered my phone to think that Google's like, oh, okay, what do you need, master? It's like, I said, okay, cool. So 23 for Lyra, natural 20 for 21 for Niles for his history check, 12 for perception for Ember. Sorry, buddy. Did you roll for? Oh, yeah, you did roll Ember Fire Giant. Perfect. Just want to make sure. And
Yes.
then 16 perception for Threign. Okay, let's do Ember first. Ember, the room is much as I described. Clearly, this is some sort of longhouse or mead hall. You can see that there are large benches and chairs along the walls around this central fire pit. And actually, just behind you is an enormous, what could only be described as a throne, I guess is the best way to describe it. A large chair made of what looks a lot like massive mammoth tusks and white whale bones.
Oh, is that something a throne that I'd recognise by any chance, or just?
I mean, probably your experience with whales would be pretty limited as a wildfire druid. I would say, and with tusks as well. I mean, you would know of elephants for sure. Like you're a druid, you're very well versed in the natural world. These tusks from this elephant must have been enormous. Given your size as giants.
Like a history check, as in, like, have I ever heard of a throne like this? Because it sounds like quite a unique thing.
Doesn't ring any bells initially, but don't worry, we'll come back to that as a group. But the only other thing you do notice, Ember, as well, the fire that's burning in the hearth, and this is only something you would notice as a wildfire druid. At first, it looked like the coals were dying down, but you realize these aren't coals at all. Obsidian glass beads burning with an inner light have replaced whatever wood, coal, other fuel was used here. In fact, as you get a bit of a closer look, you can see each one has a glowing rune in its very center. One that you have this uncanny feeling means fire in the giant language. These
Would it be hot to the touch, or is it hot as I come
they're giving
towards
off warmth as you get a little bit closer and look a bit closer. You can feel the warmth coming off them. In fact, this whole room is being warmed by this probably like 40 foot by 20 foot rectangular pit of these obsidian glass beads or shards. To your giant selves, these look like they are roughly about the size of an apple, but to a human, to your actual sizes, like, these are huge. These are massive. It would take 2 hands to lift these up, and even then, like, you're not sure you'd be strong enough. Maybe Threign, but like these are big. And that rune, that glowing rune of fire burning in the center, is indeed giving off heat. But I mean, as you look down at your hands, you can see soft flames licking up where there would be hair, arm hair or body hair is instead replaced by light fire as a fire giant. So you're not sure if it would affect you or not. In fact, as you reach forward, you're pretty confident fire holds no fear for you, shall we say.
Yeah, I was double checking if I had like any resistance to it. So
Fire giants, as you may imagine, are pretty resistant to fire.
Cool. All right, I'll let you go on to the other ones, but I'll be trying to grab one of those.
I'm happy to do this now. As you reach down and pick it up, you know that this should be so hot it almost freezes. When a fire burns so intensely that it almost pulls the energy in from around it, creates this cold, burning feeling. You know this should feel that as you pick it up. But instead, a warm, pleasant aura surrounds this as you hold it, and you watch as the flames along your arms and up your side, let's say if you pick it up with your right hand, up your right side, the flames that are burning across your body burn a little bit hotter and a little bit bluer as you pick up this bead of obsidian glass.
Cool. All right, I'm going to hold on to it for the moment.
Cool. It's not something you can just tuck into a back pocket, but you can hold on to it, absolutely holding on to it. Brilliant. Oh, thank you for giving out gifts of obscenities. Thank you very much. Let's do Threign next. Is Jared still here? Has he popped off for a second? Maybe we'll jump to the investigation check for Niles. Sorry, the investigation check for Lyra and the history check for Niles. I'm going to do the investigation check first, just because this might impact what questions you want to ask Niles and any follow-up questions you might have. Lyra, you're definitely by the seaside. You can see along the edges of the wooden beams where the wood has cracked a little bit and been pushed aside from what you can only gather must be repeated cold winters, enough that snow melts, fills up the beams with water, and then freezes again, expanding the wood and creating these flaws and gaps in the ceiling above. The only reason it's not very cold in here is because of those strange beads that Ember's currently mucking around with. They're giving off a heat, a magical heat, that almost surrounds the inside of this room like an aura. Despite the fact that there are windows along the sides, you notice with your uncanny perception and your attunement to magic as a storm giant, probably more cloud giant, but storm giant, you still have a bit of attunement to magic. You notice a bit of a shimmer, almost like a heat wave at the edges of the windows and the door at the far end, which is covered by what looks like a curtain, but you realize very quickly is actually a cured leather. One single strip that's been cut in the center to create a wedge. Whatever this animal came from was enormous, massive for it to be a single strip. The throne behind that Ember first had a bit of a peek at, it's definitely being made of some sort of massive tusk. The backrest is two tusks reaching up together and then two more pushing out to create these kind of like horns on the side. The arms are two massive tusks, and the legs are two tusks that have been bent and pulled down to create these feet. Whale bones have been used to fill in the rest. You can actually see the massive plate from probably what was a blue whale forming the seat from its massive lower jaw and upper skull. Draped in furs from, again, another large creature, you can also see antlers behind it, massive elk antlers. Again, this must be an enormous elk, bigger than any you've ever seen, bigger than you ever knew could have existed. The chair itself, even without being able to see the magic clearly, you can see there is a bit of a aura to it, a sense that there is more to this chair than meets the eye. And as you have a bit of a closer look, leaning in, having a look around, you can see all along the bones and the tusks, intricate, swirling patterns of giant runes, forming a very familiar repeated pattern. Series of triskele. 3-leaf clover.
As with that investigation, can I sort of have a bit of a look around the room and sort of see, is there much in the way of technology sort of in this thing? Like, because she's got, she's the artificer, so she's sort of looking for things. It's like, anything I can like sort of, get ideas from, take apart, like, learn more information about?
Really good question. Interestingly enough, not a huge amount of very obvious artificer-style technology, but clear signs of giant runic magic. I mean, those obsidian glass beads, for a start, clearly do something. Clearly are some sort of enchantment or some sort of runic magic. The other thing you do note as you have a bit of a look around, specifically looking for technology, you notice a strange circular device abandoned on one of the tables. Two interlocking plates of bronze forming almost like an infinity loop on top of each other, these two interlocking plates. And in the center of each of them, you can see one red and one blue gemstone that has been wired in with these cords of what looks like extruded electrum, forming these like electrum wires, like a mesh cage around it. And again, covered in these spirals of giant runes. With an investigation of 23, you remember seeing a device known as an astrolabe before, used for navigation at sea. Seems, while not super familiar in design, you suspect is familiar in purpose.
All right.
Let's jump to Threign. Oh, sorry, no. Did you have a follow-up for your investigation?
Nah, all good.
Brilliant. Let's jump to Threign perception. Everything I said for Ember applies for you, Threign. In addition, you do also notice the giant runes covering the throne, which definitely seem to be clearly some sort of magic sits atop this chair. The other thing you would notice, specifically Threign with your perception check, this is very, very similar in design to the buildings made by the Frost Goliaths. In fact, it just looks like a scaled-up version of a lot of the Frost Goliath halls that are constructed when using longships. The stonework, using the stacked stones and then sealing them together with a almost like a concrete-like paste to seal the gaps. Very, very familiar. And as you look at the leathers covering the chairs to create like a warm, soft covering for those seated on them, as you look at the far wall, this definitely gives you an odd sense of homesickness almost in a moment, a sense of the familiar touches of home in an unfamiliar environment. What's more, with your perception of 16, the sound of the ocean outside, you can also hear the sound of ice cracking against itself. Something really only you would recognize instantly, the sound of ice, floating sea ice, bumping into each other on the ocean. And occasionally being tossed and tumbled by the waves. Wherever you are.
Okay, so this is...
Yeah.
Would I know then, like, as everyone else was sort of, like, the mammoth sort of stuff... Oh, sorry, not the mammoth, like, the throne, though, like, you said, was it made of mammoth
tusks and whalebone.
Alright, so that would definitely be something that I'm very aware of.
Yeah, I mean, mammoths are kind of those creatures that are very, very rare. Most people from Oceania would probably not even believe mammoths are real anymore. They'd think them extinct, but Threign, you know better. Up in the far north, animals grow large. Having not been hunted into extinction, there are dire elk, dire bear, and mammoth still roaming the frozen tundra of Northgard. Yeah, you would have seen mammoth tusks before. The other thing I think, sorry, you go.
Oh yeah? No, you, by all means. I was just going to do a little bit of roleplay, so add some more and go on. Add some more to the soup.
the only other thing Threign would also be very, let's say, conscious of. There's no sounds outside of voices. But given that it's daylight, given that this is clearly on the edge of probably an Arctic ocean far to the north, or far to the south, for a long haul this size, with this many seats, there should be people talking outside. People discussing fishing, people discussing the creation of boats. There's no sound of soaring, there's no sound of nets being thrown, there's no sound of anything. No music, no songs. It's very quiet outside. Only the sound of gulls crying on the wind.
I think it's cool that you sort of add that in the end then, because what I was going to say was Threign would be walking around, he'd be looking at the craftsmanship, running his hand along like the runes, looking at like the throne, taking it all in, and just because I imagine that like the Goliath halls he comes from are very similar to this, but
yeah,
definitely still great craftsmanship. Great craftsmanship, but maybe not to the extent that the Giants had at their disposal, because especially with all their tech.
Yes.
So I'd be looking around just sort of in wonder, looking at everyone else's reactions that they're taking and things that they're looking at, and I'm just sort of almost like a kid, sort of just sort of thrust into this myth, this legend.
It
And
is
then
kind of appropriate that the two giant kin immediately begin playing around with the environment when they're in the past. Like Ember immediately goes as a Firbolg wildfire druid, immediately goes and starts playing with the obvious like fire runic magic, and Threign's immediately examining the frost giant designs that he recognizes and is familiar with. Like that's
especially
almost perfect.
Since like especially Threign would be just the sense of wonder. Like for any of the giants, he'd be like drawn in, because this is like a frost giant hall. He can tell it immediately.
I was going to say, at this point, Threign, you're very confident this is frost giant in make.
But then abruptly, he stops what he's doing. That last bit of information, he then immediately just abruptly stops what he's doing, walks to the entrance of this hole or whatever it is, or an exit at least, and just thrusts himself outside and takes in the views of what he sees. Hopefully, he's expecting to see giants and other things walking around. So I guess, what does he see, Owen, when he goes outside?
I'll get to that in a second, because we still need to do Niles' natural 20 on history. And actually, this fits in really nicely. Niles, as you look around, it is very hard to date this accurately based on the inside of a building. It is obviously giant make. Obviously, this is pre-ruin, because the shards of obsidian and glass in the fireplace are functional. And you know that all giant magic stopped working when the giants first disappeared. Like, it's taken a very long time to get a lot of the giant magic working. The only exception to that rule of the giant magic that didn't stop immediately, and this is something for the very first time with your natural 20, suddenly rings out as an interesting dichotomy. Cloud giant castles didn't fall from the sky. Only one of them did. The one that the Eris theocracy now inhabit. Eris, where they get their name from, is the only cloud giant castle that ceased to function. All the others, the other 4 main ones, kept on flying.
So that's obviously saying that all magic failed is not true.
Doesn't fit the pattern.
No.
Something's different with this. Something that you've only just with a natural 20, you've only just realized is incongruous to everything you've thought before. And it's been said time and time again. Like, and it's a well-known fact of Nostea. When the giants vanished, the portals closed, they were unable to be opened again. Nostea was cut off from the rest of the worlds, only by... You go.
I was going to say, are the other flying castles, flying cities, are they common knowledge in Nostea?
Yeah. So one of them actually is inhabited by the astral elves. I think it's Volus. Right. Let me quickly pull open my... It's great to pull up my own lore and background.
Because I guess my line of thinking is like, I'm coming to this conclusion now about the magic.
Yeah.
Is this not like a sentiment that could be shared with other people within Nostea? Like, is this like a common, like, oh well, what's this about, sort of thing, right?
Yeah, it's something that people don't talk about enough. You're sure somewhere in some department of the Unseen University, you're sure there's some wizards who muddle over this and discuss it and debate why the castles didn't fall from the sky. But there are 4 sky castles that still work as far as you're aware. Sorry, there are 3 that still work. One is Eris, the one that crashed. Solaris, which is the largest of the sky cities. It actually travels over Oxenfurt and Palin, mostly inhabited by high elves, humans, and a number of Aarakocra and Owlin also call it home as well. There's Volus, which is the home of the astral elves. That castle, when the ruin happened, it vaulted up into the upper layers of the atmosphere, almost outside the orbit of Nostea, which is why the astral elves are the way they are. It's the exposure to the astral sea from living on Volus that has done that to them. And the last one is Nocturnus, a sky castle that the only thing you would... Oh no, you got a natural 20 on your history. I've got to give you a bit more. You know that Nocturnus is a sky city afflicted with a terrible curse. Food brought upon it rots. Water spoils. Nothing grows there. And anyone who spends more than 12 hours on Nocturnus dies of a terrible, painful affliction before rising with the next moon as a zombie.
Dang.
We haven't had much with the Sky City, so this is a good little lore drop. I was kind of saving them for later on in the Return of the Giants. We didn't quite get to the Interior Dragons. I had some stuff planned for them, but you guys didn't take the hooks, so I was like, great, I'll save them for the next one.
So Nocturnus is just considered like a dead, like literally a dead city.
And Nocturnus doesn't move. All the other Sky Cities orbit and move. Nocturnus is locked in place, high above the eastern coast of Oceania, almost above the ocean above the ocean that separates Oceania from Balmir, the dwarven capital.
Right.
It just sits there.
But it's not there's no landmass below it.
No, open ocean, which is the only thing that stops a horde of zombies from falling over the edge and spreading the curse. Basically,
what I was thinking. Like, what if this does collapse on a city and like they just end up with the undead on? Okay.
Yeah, no, and Nocturnus. Many attempts have been made to understand the magic of Nocturnus. A saying on Nostea for people who are chasing a foolish dream that will damage them is called chasing Nocturnus. Like, it's literally a saying that, like, if you're doing something that is going to lead to your own self-destruction, you're chasing Nocturnus.
That's very cool, actually. I like this. Okay, interesting. I imagine like any type of attempt to, I guess, explore, or just purely by the nature that this thing is in the air, makes it a little hard. Like it locks a majority of people out. They would have to have access to some sort of flying machine, which is not super common. Obviously with the exception of the Tempest Guild having an airship, but
there's a fair few airships. Like there's a fair few. Okay. Most cities would have an airship. To be perfectly honest, it would be very hard to believe that the Silverwind family wouldn't have at least one schooner.
Oh, okay.
Sky schooner to fly between cities for transport.
Oh, for sure, they definitely would. They'd have probably one or two, being trading orientated. Cool. Okay, but no, that's very interesting. Wow.
Dating where you are. Let's get back to the actual question you asked.
Let's get back to that question.
Sorry.
No, all good.
Look, a natural 20 has always got to be rewarded, and a natural 20 for a history check means you get a lot of lore.
Yeah, I mean, I think as well, like, I think one of the things, on top of dating, obviously, where we could be, or what the time could be, I'd also like to know, in relation to previous memory, whether or not it's before or after that memory, just to get my bearings right.
Perfect. I was going to answer that question, so that's brilliant. I'm pleased that you specifically asked it. Looking inside, really it's hard to know exactly when you are. As I said, definitely pre-ruin, from what you can tell. I mean, the fire pit full of these obsidian beads is fully functional. I was like, how do we get on that tangent? That's how, because I was dating it for you with pre-ruin, and that's how you know it was pre-ruin. The runic magic, the giant runic magic, is still fully functional. Whatever this fire pit is, it's working perfectly. No glitches, no nothing. It's fully functional. So it has to be pre-ruin. Looking around at the design, at the construct, your understanding of giant architecture, initially your first thought would be this must be even further in the past. Because if you compare this to the metal of the Storm Giant Castle, which was made of stone, marble, and metal, this seems almost primitive compared to that at first. Yep. And then as you look around and begin to see the age of this place, combined with the very careful use of runic magic, you realize this is definitely a different style of architecture. Probably, to your initial estimates, probably Frost rather than anything else. Frost would stand out as the strongest.
Yep.
As you have kind of exhausted all of the hints available to you inside to know when you are, I would say, Niles, would you head to the door around the same time Threign does to have a bit of a peek out?
Yeah, probably I would. Just to stoke my own curiosity about where we could potentially be, and maybe to help me with the dating potentially of where we could be, just to try and get my bearings. As I'm sure Niles, obviously inhabiting this body, though, would want to know approximately where in time we are. Yeah.
As you begin walking away from the spot where you were standing, you feel something heavy in your pocket slap against your right leg as you begin to take that first step. And as you pause and reach down, you pull out from your pocket an ornate scroll. As you slowly unfurl it, the giant runes in front of you seem to shift, and you can almost read them clearly. And then you recognize the scroll. You recognize the signatures at the bottom.
Oh, it's
This-
the ones we've signed
This
previously.
is the treaty that you all signed, determining what land would be given and how it would be divided. And you can
Yes.
see the spaces where all of you signed it.
Yep.
But the paper looks older.
Ooh,
Maybe a few
okay.
years, maybe even a decade or more since
Shit,
you
alright.
signed this. That's how you date it with a natural 20 when there's no
Ooh,
other way
that's
you could have dated it.
far out. Yeah, that's great. Obviously an original. Like we would. I
Yeah,
would
definitely.
know
The,
that.
the
Yeah,
ink
okay.
is even still slightly reflective.
Yep. Okay.
And you can see that where it's cracked at the edges, like definitely original.
Any type of blemish or damage that would indicate that it's been through the ringer, like potentially been on my person.
It looks like it's
encountered.
looks like it's been well cared for. Definitely well cared for. But you can see
Yeah.
that many hands have held this at different times. With
Okay.
your natural 20, you can see sections where it has been slightly scorched, sections where there is some frost damage. It looks like
Yes. Okay.
each giant clan has been a custodian of this at different times. And it is currently in your control,
Okay.
I'd say, or it is your responsibility at this point to look after this.
Yeah.
You get the sense that this is such an important document. It's not kept behind glass, it's not kept behind stone
Alright.
walls.
Interesting.
You're not sure why, but it seems like this has traveled a bit and in the hands of many different giants.
I think at that realization that it's been in the different hands, I kind of like my eyes squint a little bit at the realization that I'm most likely on a frost giant ship, well, or in their longhouse potentially.
Yeah, definitely
like,
a
but
longhouse. There's
but I'm
no
a- but
ocean
I'm-
moving underneath you.
Sindaris is a storm giant, so I'm like, why am I in the frost giant longhouse? If I've got this, wouldn't it stand to reason if I'm in their place, they would have the treaty at this point, unless I'm visiting?
I said you back
I'm
to
kind of
front,
trying
didn't I?
to, yeah, trying to.
Your
piece
storm
it together.
giant, Ali is cloud giant. Then it makes perfect sense, Lyra, that you were able to see the magic. Cloud giants are known for their control and mastery of arcane magic. That is how you were able to see all the magic so clearly. It's because
Yeah.
you're actually a cloud giant. For some reason, I got you and Niles mixed up. I thought Niles was the cloud giant, you were the storm giant. No, other way around. Sorry, Niles is the storm giant, you're the cloud giant. Sorry.
Amazing.
Please continue, Niles.
Yep. No, I guess my mind just starts going about what we could be doing here, why I have this, why I have the treaty, and yeah, I see. I guess at this point, I see Threign, aka Ulfric, walking out the door, and I guess after a few moments, I just follow him, curious to know what's going on. Really.
Perfect. As the two of you push aside the curtain made of animal hide and peer outside, you can see you are situated on the edge of a bay. A stony beach, rocks tumbling over one another. No sand, just these black, almost pumice-like pebbles forming the edge of the shore. The water a beautiful crystal blue, and upon its surface, you can see hundreds of tiny, minuscule icebergs bobbing on the surface. These almost like a field of broken sea ice that, as it gets caught in the waves and tumbled against the shore, is smashed into tiny shards by the pebbles itself. But the waves are quite small. This bay clearly protects it. Mountains rise to the east. As you turn towards your right, you can see the sun, which is rising over these mountains, clearly gives you a bearing. At the moment, you're currently facing north, with the sun rising to the east on your right. To your left, to the west, you can see the bay continues around for as far as the eye can see, disappearing into the horizon. This vast stretch of land, almost like a peninsula pushing out into the ocean beyond, disappearing into the horizon. But what grabs both of your attention straight away is an enormous ship floating in the bay. A longship. Wood, for the most part, but you can see where it has been augmented with plates of metal. Where the oars once stood, instead you can see these incredible engines built onto the side, not dissimilar from the airships of Nostea currently. Not dissimilar at all. But rather than blades and wires, in the center of each of these enormous spiral-like loops coming out from the edge of the ship, 4 of them in total, 2 at the back, 2 at the front on each side, in the center of each one, hovering in place, spinning rapidly, is a shard of light blue crystal, almost like an aquamarine. And you can see cold frost air being pushed out from it. Not enough to propel the ship, not enough to lift it, but it's no stretch of the imagination that the right rune, the right channeling of power, could turn this into a maelstrom of ice and snow, providing propulsion and maybe even lift. But otherwise the ship is almost like a Viking-like ship in design. 2 enormous masts in the very center. A symbol... Threign, could you roll me a history check? I want to see if you recognize this this emblem.
Is that Threign or Frost Giant Threign?
Threign. But you roll as your Frost Giant. When you're in the Frost Giant form, you roll as the Frost Giant.
Done.
Yeah, because you have that connection to your echo. You basically are your echoes for the purpose of this.
That's
Or, I'm going to say the connection, this is your second time, your first real time connecting with your echo, and you don't even know who you are yet. At this point, you haven't had a chance to meld, to connect with the echo. You're still Threign, and you don't recognize this symbol at all. You can sense a larger mind there, but you don't even know the name of the person you are right now. It's very hard to connect with anything more than that. But yeah, very classic longship. An unfamiliar symbol. An enormous serpent forming a infinity sign, biting its own tail at the top. Crest of spines around its head, forming almost what looks like ice, an ice-like frill. On the ship, you can see people moving about, but it's far enough away that the sound doesn't carry very well at all. The slight creaking of the ship, the occasional sound of ice colliding, wasn't just with ice on the shore, it was ice bumping into this. But the ship at the very front has this enormous prow of silver metal forming this blade. Rather than a figurehead, there's this enormous blade of metal, clearly designed to cut through the ice. And on the side, with this giant sort of runic language semi-comprehensible to you, you can see the ship is called the Ice Splitter.
Oh, okay. Checks out.
Checks out. By name and by nature. That is what you see in the bay. The only thing I'll add, actually... Oh, no, sorry, you go.
No, sorry, I was going to say, are we in like a town, a settlement? Is it just the long house?
Perfect. I was literally about to say, the only other thing I'll add is as you look again on either side, your attention drawn by the enormous metal long ship in the bay, you can see this is indeed a settlement. The longhouse where you're standing is the largest building in this town by far, but there's a collection of what look almost like, I guess would be like fishing huts is the best way to describe this, but giant-sized fishing huts, dotting the edge of the shore, and further back, larger homesteads, and even behind them you can see what looks like farmsteads in the distance. Not very many of those. Along the shoreline, enormous nets are arranged, but the nets have mostly been stripped bare. In fact, many of the poles that would have once held up nets to be kept safe and to be checked before they're used again, the nets have been removed. Just the poles remain. Like this village is being abandoned.
Wow, okay. Are there many other, I'm assuming, frost giants in the
on the
settlement?
ship? None in the village. The village itself is empty.
Okay.
As far as you can see, as you first step out of the longhouse, no other giants are on the shore as far as you can see. All of them seem to be on the boat. You can see there's easily 70, 80 giants, frost giants, men, women, and children, working to prepare things, getting the ship ready. In fact, it's hard to judge distance in this form because you've spent a lifetime being like 6 foot and now you're like 20 foot.
Yeah.
So distance is still one of those things you're kind of like getting into gear, but
gauging a little.
It's far enough away that sound isn't carrying. This ship is a lot bigger than it even looks from here. Like this ship is huge. This ship has replaced the town.
Interesting. Okay. And I guess on top of that, judging by the town, obviously no signs of any sort of like attack or damage. It just looks like they've just abandoned it.
It looks stripped. There's stripped bare. Like it's been everything of value, everything of worth has been pulled down. Like washing lines stand bare. You can see the well, even the bucket has been removed, and the well itself has been partly closed over, partly sealed. It looks like these people are getting ready to leave this place, but it's not been fully taken down. the skeleton, everything that's not going to rot or decay has been left in place.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is this? I mean, I don't know if Niles would take this, but my knowledge of giant is very limited, so I don't. Actually, you know what? I know whose knowledge of giant isn't limited. I turned around to
Threign,
and I will probably say at this point, "Oh, hey, Threign," and that's probably when he'll hear Ulfric. But I'll say, "Oh, Threign, is this normal to be pulling apart this village? Are the frost giants nomadic, or is this what is happening here?"
You know it's your name. It's not your name,
What?
but it feels like your name when he calls you Ulfric. There's that
I sort
familiarity.
of take a step back for a sec. Hold on. Let me look at my cheat sheet for a sec.
Yeah.
While you're looking at your cheat sheet, Ember and Lyra, I'm going to say at this point, and the inside, unless there was anything specific you wanted to do inside, I'd say the insiders reached the level in which you have seen all you want to see and done all you want to do, and you can step outside and join Threign and Niles.
Am I able to see the people on the boat in the distance as well?
Yes,
And
definitely.
I can't see anyone else in the town.
Seems abandoned.
I've got my lovely rune still in my hand. If I hold that in my hand, hold it up in the air, and also use produce flame, could I make a flame that's big enough that they might be able to see me on the ship?
Fuck yes, Simon. Of course you can. Brilliant. As
That's
you
so
cast Produce Flame, you channel the magic through into the obsidian glass gemstone shard. It bursts into flame, a bonfire in your hands, rising up blue and purple and red and orange, full spectrum of colors. The heat from this is so intense. Lyra, Threign, and Niles, you almost have to stand back away from this. It is so hot, even as he holds it above, high up in the air. The heat that washes over you, the snow on the roof behind you instantly vaporizes and turns to steam as this blast of flame rides up. It is very obvious to anyone with a passive perception of 15 or more. Figures on the ship see this point, and you watch as a small longboat, a small rowboat is lowered down from the side, and 3 giants climb in and begin rowing back to shore. Immediately.
Lovely.
I'll turn around to everyone else and be like, I think they've seen us.
I don't even notice. I obviously noticed the fire.
I shouldn't say row,
But
what you see
I'm
is
just-
one of the frost giants at the back holds their hands up, and the boat begins to speed across the surface towards you.
That's
Cool.
cool.
So I shouldn't say row.
But I definitely don't notice. I notice the flame, but I don't notice really what's going on. I'm just staring at like Niles.
You're still
or-
reeling from this information. Yeah.
Well, not really reeling. I'm just like
Processing?
I get processing it. Struck by it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just said Ulfric, Sindaris. Wait, what? I sort of take a step back as I like just uttered that voice, like that name.
I am also like slightly like, oh, but then I realize that this is the exact same thing happened the first time. So I'm probably a little bit more like, oh yes, of course, yes. Our other names, well, our real names don't work here. I kind of
Wait, no, hold on. Are you saying that I am Ulfric?
Apparently, yes.
I think he just sort of stumbles back and falls on his like butt for a sec, just like just sort of stunned almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
And I look back at Lyra.
You okay there?
Person. I look at Chorus. You know how I was saying that no one would believe me? No, no one's definitely going to believe me now.
That's great.
You watch as the small skimmer, this wood and metal boat that seems to glide across ice and water, the same, approaches the shore. 3 giants stand upon it. 2 male frost giants and 1 female frost giant. The female frost giant is the one standing at the back, holding her arms aloft, and you can see swirls of frost and snow collecting around her hands and being channeled into a very similar gemstone at her feet as the one on the big engines, a much smaller aquamarine shard. The ones that are suspended in the engine, I should have explained, they're like 40 foot tall. They're huge. They're massive collections of aquamarine. Or I should say, it's not aquamarine, an aquamarine resembling gemstone.
Yeah.
You don't have a dwarf with you. Who knows what gemstones are? But as she channels the magic through into it, you can see that around the front of this skimmer, water is frozen and melted, creating a channel around it. And as it skims across the ice, it's leaving a trail of frost behind it that glitters almost with the colors of the rainbow behind it as the light catches it. The ice crystals forming such a perfect lattice that it refracts the light and creates this rainbow-like appearance behind it. Almost like a rainbow bridge is left behind it of ice. As the skimmer arrives at the shoreline and slows down, the two male frost giants step out of the boat and help the older female frost giant out as well. The two males look to be, if they were human, probably in their mid to late 20s. You can see they don't have full beards, more like this white, rough stubble that's sort of clearly been grown out to form into a proper beard. One of them has the beginnings of a braided beard from the chin going downwards, while the other one seems to be more focused on growing the mustache into this large droopy mustache. But all of them with this very azure blue skin, this pale azure skin, and perfect bleached white hair, almost like there's no color at all. No color to their hair at all, just this perfect white. They're dressed in what look like heavy furs and tanned leathers that have been dyed into this myriad of gorgeous shades of blue, purple, and some of it even sort of into indigo spectrum as well. But the one thing they all do have in common is a large bracer made of this silvery white metal on their left arms, and on their head, on the side, the right-hand side, the hair has been shaved back, and you can see an intricate tattoo of this silvery white color, not dissimilar from the metal on the bracer on the right-hand side, forming these patterns and swirls that continues down the neck and disappears into the clothing below. The older female... Oh, sorry, you go, Threign.
No, I was just going to ask, as I see them approach and I see all the details you're pointing out, I look at my hand, do I also have that same...
Yeah. Silvery metal bracer on the left arm, and as you reach up and feel, you can feel this kind of like almost slightly cold metallic series of patterns. And you realize as you touch it, Threign, it's not just a tattoo. This is metal thread embedded into the skin.
Yeah, wow.
Oh, that's nuts.
As the but the designs aren't identical. Like as you feel yours, you can feel these other patterns, and as you look at the two frost giant men, the patterns are artistic, depicting one of them has almost like a wolf swallowing his ear, the other one has a series of serpent-like forms, but all of them have these runes and similar shapes within them, forming these beautiful artistic patterns, but still those repeating smaller units to create them that are the same.
Always on the side of the
right
head
hand
as well.
side of the head, and continuing down the neck and below the line of the furs. The older woman, however, her tattoos are on both sides. Her hair is shaved on both sides and pulled back into a braid, and it continues down across her eyes, forming an intricate pattern, almost like a mask, across her face and all the way back, continuing down on both sides and on her chin as well. And as she opens her mouth to speak to you, you can see that not only that, but her tongue is also coated in the same runes as well.
Oh, that's
like
crazy.
The pattern continuing from the mouth down across the lips and down the chin and under the neck. Ulfric, Threign Ulfric, we saw your signal from the ship. Do you have need of us?
When she said Threign Ulfric, is that me? Did I pick up on the Threign sort of thing?
Thane Ulfric. Did I say Threign? Sorry, Thane Ulfric.
No, they sound very
My bad.
similar. Maybe I just
Sorry.
confused that.
It's very possible I said Threign Ulfric. Thane Ulfric. Sorry. Thane Ulfric. We saw your signal of your companion. Do you have need of us? We came at once.
Stand up. I approach them all. And I give them all
Watch as they
credit
clasp
handshakes
a
because
right
that's what I...
hand. Oh yeah, as they go to do the right hand over the breast and you hold out your arm,
You know what?
they then
I
imitate and join
I
in.
drag them into a big group hug. I've never seen frost giants before.
Okay. You can see, like, there's a moment of panic and fear in the two male frost giants' eyes as you, like, suddenly reach for them. And then as you pull them into a hug, they kind of, like, at first are very tense, and then kind of relax into it. Almost as if they're initially terrified you're going to do something to them, then are really unsure about what's going on, and then realize it, and are very, very cool with it.
Well, let that be. I sort of laugh. Look, I'll be honest. I sort of think of something for a sec. I was having a nap, and what were you all getting up to up there? Sorry, I just lost track of time. Could you just run me up to speed with what's going on?
Surely my Thane jests about having a nap. Were you not in discussion with your fellow leaders of the giant clans here about the removal of our people from these lands?
Ah, I see. Okay, I understand.
Well, you will be pleased to know, my Thane, that the preparations are almost complete. Ice Cutter is almost ready for departure. We have taken all that we can. We have left most of the buildings intact in the hope that the council reconsiders their decision and we can return to our homes once again.
Yeah, cool. I was gonna ask. I was gonna be like, Ian's like, how are they feeling about this? I was gonna see if.
Do you want to roll me an insight check?
Yep.
I think you can guess though.
Yeah. Look. Probably not stoked about it.
17. Niles. There is anger in the two male frost giants. Grief in the woman.
Grief in the woman?
Grief.
That's a bit sad.
Well, you also see maybe some form of anger forming up now in Threign's eyes. As he realizes that his people or his ancestors are maybe getting shafted a little bit.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm gonna play this out. I'm just gonna see how this goes. I'm not gonna say anything. Just gonna see how this goes.
As the older woman
it's okay. It's okay. Let me ask them all. My fellow giant kin. And look at everyone. I'm starting to get a sense probably now too that I'm like sort of getting melding into this stream a bit more and realizing sort of the hierarchy of things, and I'm probably looking more at Niles to be honest, because Storm Giant.
Can you roll me a D100 please, Threign?
Alright.
I want to see how connected
22.
22, okay. I want to see how connected you are to Ulfric. The answer is you're still connecting with Ulfric. You know the name. Connecting. You've made progress. You know the name. And you know all the stories of Ulfric. But if anything, that's kind of getting in the way of knowing who Ulfric is, right? Because how do you fill a cup that's already full? You already know 1,000,001 stories about Ulfric. This isn't one of those stories. And so you're kind of like still clinging on to what you know of Ulfric. And
you know what's probably more? It's probably more Threign right now expressing. Yeah. He probably at least knows that like he heard stories about the other giants, and he knows that the Storm Giants have always been the ones that probably made more of the decisions. So he'll probably look at Niles, at Sindaris, and be like, so Sindaris, why are my people being expelled from their lands?
You what?
Threign's blunt. This is more of a Threign question. He's happy that they're like leaving. He doesn't really realize what's going on. But
both Niles and Sindaris knows exactly why they're leaving. So I think Niles / Sindaris just goes, don't you remember, Ulfric? The treaty, the distribution of the land, it was signed many years ago. This is part of the reparations to the new races that have arrived here in Nostea.
The older female frost giant looks really confused by this conversation and almost shoots a bit of an angry glare towards you, Ulfric.
Okay, all right. I look at I want to gauge her reaction for a sec, because she will give me some context.
Perfect. As you turn to Niles and go, please explain, she goes, "Forgive me, my Thane, but was it not your decision that when the Frost Giants were to give up a portion of their land, that it would be this portion? It has always been more of a temporary home for us. Come here in the summer, when the weather is warm, the ice has melted. That is why it was chosen, was it not? Or did you not have as much of a say as you claimed? Did you not represent us with strength, Ulfric?"
Oh, shit. That just... oh, my.
Okay, I want to...
Yikes.
Okay,
Heyo.
I mean, I didn't roll very well for before, but I want to at least try and, like, at least feel out what connection I have with this person, or this giant.
Unfortunately, at this moment,
Drawing blanks.
you can feel, you know, there's more to this story. You can feel there's more to this story. When she says, "Did you not like fight for us with strength, Ulfric?" and doesn't use your title, there's a part of you that knows that this is wrong. You did fight. You know you did. But as she speaks about this, you don't remember this. You don't remember doing this. But it feels familiar. That's all you get, unfortunately. Yeah, Ember.
Hierarchy of the giants again. So I remember the hill giants were,
So there's so in most D&D campaigns, giants, and in the Forgotten Realms, which is the setting for all of the pre-written adventures, the giants are allocated under an ordering, and it's storm giants on top, followed by cloud, frost and fire kind of vie for underneath. It sort of shifts and changes, then stone, then hill. On Nostea, it's a little bit different. Each of the tribes, each of the giant clans rule themselves. For the hill giants, it's a chief. For the frost giants, it's a jarl. So this title of Thane is also something you're not very familiar with either. This seems like a new title. For the fire giants, it's different. For the cloud, for the storm, and each representative, each of those rulers, is then part of a council of the giant clans. Historically, traditionally, and with no exceptions ever, the king of the storm giants has also been the overseer and chancellor of this council. So the storm giants have always had more power than the others, a little bit more, because they were the ones who brought together the first council, or so they claim. But it's not so much of a set hierarchy where giants are one over the other. Like in Frost Giant lands, Frost Giant law applies. In Fire Giant lands, Fire Giant law applies. Like if a Cloud Giant was to break Frost Giant law on Frost Giant lands, they would be prosecuted to the full extent of Frost Giant law. So they still have their own governance, their own leaders. But in the council, unfortunately, Storm Giants do still have a bit more power.
Owen, can I get you to do a real quick summary of what's going on with the echoes and memories? Because just one of our viewers...
Yes, absolutely. So
needs a little bit of context.
That is a good point. I will quickly do a quick refresher on echoes. In the world of Nostea, which has a very, very long history, which if I type in !wiki, you can get all of the info you need. But as a shorthand, each of the characters now, at the very beginning of the campaign, were embedded with a almost like a device from the giants. The giants have been missing from this world for a very, very long time, and at the end of our Tyranny of Dragons campaign, the players brought the giants back as the finale of that campaign. Completely their decision. I had a number of different ways that campaign could end. They chose to bring the giants back as the end of that campaign, which is now why we're in a completely homebrew campaign now. But with the return of the giants, all of the giant technology and magic has begun working again. And one of those is the embedded implant, which allows them to relive moments from the past. And there's a lot of mysteries around what happened to the giants. The players are figuring out what happened to the giants in the past to determine what they do in the future, because there's been a massive schism. The giants are causing problems for each other and for the other races of Nostea. And from the giants' perspective, they've come back to their world and it's been overrun by all these other people. From everyone else's perspective, they've been here for hundreds of years. So it's a very delicate political situation as well as a mystery that they have to unravel. I think that's a good summary.
Yeah, no, definitely. Perfect.
Perfect.
Yes,
Okay.
the giants are much more technologically advanced than other iterations. Yeah, so the giants use almost like a runic artificing style of technology. So it's all based on runic magic to channel elemental energy. So they sort of rely on very primordial aspects of the weave. There's a lot I've typed up for this. There's a lot. I've had a lot of fun world building, and I've put a fair bit on the wiki, but there's still a lot of secrets that I have to keep. So I mean, we've got to reveal a secret tonight about one of the Sky Cities Nocturnus, which I've been keeping under wraps since I first wrote. That was the very first Sky City I wrote about way back before we had our first session of Tyranny of Dragons.
That's crazy.
I've had that for a very long time. I was stoked to share that after a very nice nat 20 on a history check. Yeah.
Amazing.
So, Threign, you were currently trying to connect with your echo, your echo of Ulfric, the frost giant. Thane, you've not heard that word used to describe a frost giant leader before. Jarl, definitely. Thane, probably at this point, Threign, it's Jarl. Yes, the traditional leader of the frost giants has always been known as a Jarl. Thane is a word you've not heard before. Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, as you look at this older female frost giant, whose name, only because I can't wait for you to ask for it, is Sarsund.
Oh wow, I don't even know if I can pronounce that.
I'll type it in chat.
Yeah, love it.
Sarsund. Only because I can't keep referring to her as old frost giant female. It hurts me every time I refer to a character not by their name. Sarsund. As Sarsund looks at you disapprovingly, you can see that there's something here, something you're missing, Threign, something you're not aware of. But whatever it is, Sarsund does not take kindly to this idea that you didn't fight for the frost giants, that you, or the person you're inhabiting, the person you're being, failed.
Would Threign know their name? Is that more my context?
That's just for me, so I stopped referring to them as frost giant female.
Easy done. I won't say
Please,
the name
someone ask their name. Feel free.
I don't think I should ask.
Yeah, Ember.
Yeah, no. By all means, Simon, jump in. This is probably a good time for me.
Well, I was going to say, to break up the tension, because obviously noticing that,
I'm starting to get a little worked up too.
Yeah, so I'll reach out my arm, because at this point I don't know if I've met this person, and be like, "Hi there, I'm Eldia," and how does she react to me stretching my arm?
She pauses for a second, and almost a little bit taken aback. This is a frost giant, you're a fire giant at the moment. And as she sees you reach out the arm, she pauses for a second, looks down, and then reaches out and grasps you in that sort of predator handshake that Threin's been teaching everyone.
Yes.
And she nods, and as she looks you in the eye, not breaking eye contact as she grabs your arm, Sarsund.
Sarsund, I can tell you right now that we have been dealing with this issue for a long time now, and I can guarantee you that sorry, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, Threign? I'm not familiar with this word, is fought quite hard compared to some of the other representatives.
I am surprised to hear a fire giant speak in defense of a frost. But I see no reason why you would lie about this, not to talk up a frost giant. I find myself believing you.
Well, that would be because I'm not lying to you. These are quite hard times, which I'm sure you would definitely appreciate. And my colleague here is under quite a bit of stress, so maybe ease off him a little bit at the moment.
Can I have you please make me a persuasion or intimidation check, your choice?
Wow. I'll do persuasion. It's okay. For each. Oh, that's a 3.
Oh, that's a 3. When you have been driven from your home, place your ancestors, built with their hands, with their magic, all because in the name of appeasing small, insignificant creatures that have fallen through a rift that never should have been opened, then you may tell me how I should feel, how I should act.
Oh, I don't think I'd like that reaction, and would turn around and say, well, as you said yourself, this is just your summer home. I'm sure you'd be more than happy to head back to your winter home.
I think Sindaris would probably step in and say,
No, I'm going to step in here, actually.
Oh, okay. pick up what you're putting down. I take a little bit of a step back, and I.
Eldir, as much as I appreciated you coming, well, actually, no, I can fight my own battles, to be honest.
Cool.
Well, can you? I mean,
Your
this
disrespect.
person's questioning you in front of everyone else.
I'm gonna punch him in the face.
No! Oh no. Why has it become this? Make me an unarmed strike.
Oh, I love that you were defending me, and then you immediately started just
15.
insulting my people.
Eldia, what's your AC as a fire giant? I think it's pretty high.
No. I only got 13.
You just deck him in the face. 8 points of bludgeoning damage as... I
like to think, to put my reasoning here a little bit.
Yeah.
Obviously, he started insulting us.
Wow.
He was going really good until he started insulting us and like, oh, it's just I'm like, okay. But also, I feel like just even like Yell Ulfric's, like, I feel like his emotions a little bit probably started seeping in a little bit. So that's probably that's explaining more. Like, obviously, I wouldn't just attack Ember.
No.
This isn't really
is
Threign right now.
This is like I was gonna say. This definitely like you are starting to synchronize with Ulfric now. Like as you deck a fire giant for daring to question you, it's bang on.
Owen,
Hello.
question.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what happened during the treaty.
Yeah.
But weren't there other lands that were
Everyone,
to...
every group had to give up land. Yeah. The
The
hill giants bore the brunt of it, actually. Like, if anyone, the hill giants got fucked over. You really fucked over the hill giants.
Yeah, at this point, Garrus will be like, enough. Show some decorum. Now, may I remind you that it was not just the frost giants that lost land to these new individuals. Man. There have been other lands that have been ceded back to these new arrivals. It was agreed upon during our Orthing.
Just say all thing and then just have a like ul at the front. So it's ulthing, and you're done. You got it. Ulthing.
Oh, cool! I like that.
You got
Ulthing.
it. Yeah, the ulthing.
Ulthing. It was decided upon at the Ulthing that each of the giant races would cede their land to these new arrivals. Now, unfortunately for the frost giants here, they have lost this land. Perhaps not forever, but for the time being, as agreed upon, for the new arrivals to establish themselves. It is not for all.
Who could even live here? Who could even live here but us? It's frost.
You perhaps underestimate the resilience of these small folk, then, Ulfric. They have proven themselves to be quite adept at adapting to their environments.
Nice.
Just a little thing I've noticed. I just love that everyone's really now getting into the role play of the Giants.
Yes.
We've all completely forgotten their own characters.
But this happened last time as well.
Yeah.
Even Matt, like that was commanding. That was not Niles.
My favorite thing is, I don't know if you guys remember, but mechanically, the more you act like your giants, you start to earn the synchronization points, and you start to be able to call the giant abilities as your real characters when you're playing as Lyra, Niles.
Yeah.
Like,
so I will
please do it. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, being a storm giant probably gives me a little bit of authority here, but I also have a 22 charisma as a storm giant, so this is very much
bang on.
Yeah, bang on.
Yeah. 100%.
Yep.
Ember, as you stumble back from being decked in the face and feel at your lip, you can feel that it has been split. But as Niles steps in and calms things down as the storm giant, you see as it does begin to calm. You can see the two frost giant warriors who were accompanying Sarsund are reached for axes, and then as Niles steps in and calms it down, they slowly lower their weapons and sheath them once again. And you see Sarsund nodding. And as she pauses, you watch her grimace and then say, 100 years. Yeah? That is all. This land is ours once again. That was the agreement. Less if we find a home for them sooner. If Sinmare and her meddling portals manage to find them somewhere else. Ulfric?
Aye.
That was the agreement, yeah? She completely ignores you now. Her focus is, she turns to Ulfric.
when I look at her, does she look like she gained a little respect again for Ulfric?
Oh
That I
yeah,
defended
yeah.
them?
When you punched the fire giant in the face, brownie points straight away. Like if there's nothing a frost giant likes more than seeing a fire giant get decked in the schnoz. Yeah.
I just nod, and my look says it all. Like, I agree with her. I don't even need to like say anything. I just nod with this like when I look at her, she almost can see like the tempest, like the ice storm in my eyes as I look back at her.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actions speak louder than words.
You watch as she nods slowly, and then turns back, looking towards the small craft, the wave skimmer. So, my Thane, did you have any further need of us? Or may we return for preparations? And will you be accompanying us on the ice splitter? Or do your duties take you elsewhere?
That's the
From
second
the-
time Ellie's gotten shocked.
From the deck of the ship, you hear a large deerhound bark, and you can see this deerhound is enormous, a dire deerhound, as it were, as 3 frost giants try their best to collar the almighty hound. You can see that it's pulling against the leash, butting and wheeling before it dives off the deck and begins swimming around, chasing dolphins in the bay, easily large enough to catch a dolphin in its mouth. Will you be accompanying us on the ice splitter? Or
I will be there soon. I just have a few things here to settle, then I'll be there.
very well. And have you had any thoughts on who will be in the Jarl now that you have stepped into this new role as Thane? Do you have any names to put forward, my Thane?
Oh man, see that? I don't know any names.
No, you've got no idea. And that's the thing, right? You're being asked these questions.
Oh, actually, I have an idea. We live by strength. Hold a contest. Hold a melee. And whoever comes out on top, they shall lead. By strength and example.
Will be done, my Thane.
Pick from amongst our finest warriors and wisest warriors.
Shall we do a test of 3, as it was in the old tales? A test of wisdom, strength, and endurance.
I like that. Do that.
Our people will like this as well.
Let's bring it back.
Make our ancestors proud. Yes, a test of 3 shall be performed, my Thane. You shall be missed amongst your people as Jarl.
See, now the Thane thing's interesting. But I nod. I shall come join you soon. Go. Tell everyone what we have come to conclusion with. Test of 3. Set it in motion.
It will be done, my Thane. You watch as she bows very deeply, hand across the chest, and then begins moving towards the boat, the wave skimmer. As she gets on board, the 2 warriors both salute you as well, and then look at each other and smile a little bit, and then one of them reaches out to give you a hug, Ulfric.
No, come on, Brigitte. I didn't know that.
I knew you would. I fucking knew you would. As you hug them both, you
These are
hear
my
a
little children now.
from the deck of the ship as you see Susa very much Sassun, as you see Sassun like clearly disapproving of this, like as you hug them both in, you hear this sort of like chuckle from one of them as they like give you a pat on the back, and then one of them holds out an axe and a small chisel and goes, it would not be too much if I asked you to sign my axe, would it? You are a hero to the Frost Giants and to our people. It would be a great honor if you could sign my axe. Would you? Maybe later, please.
I could do it now, quick. I know runes.
You know runes.
So I'm gonna do a rune for strength. Do the rune for strength.
Oh, nice. Okay. As you carve the rune for strength, could I have you please roll me a D100? I want to see if you channel any of Ulfric's runic magic.
37. Getting there.
Sorry, is that a 7 on a D100?
No, 37.
Oh, 37. I thought you said 7
So
for a
that's what
second.
I mean. So it's a pickup from the 22. So we're getting better
there
with it.
Yeah, in like 9 more rolls, you'll be in high 60s. as you carve the rune for strength, the frost giant, the younger frost giant, the one who has the braided beard, watches you in excitement, and as he sees you carve strength, he sort of pauses and then nods and goes, "Oh, you are a humble one, not to put your name, but to put the rune for strength. Ulfric, thank you. But none may believe that Ulfric himself carved a rune of strength into my axe. This shall be an axe my grandchildren carry into battle, to glorious battle."
Let me put a little bit of magic into it. Like 37, not much, but enough.
The rune
that
like
if
glows
anyone,
softly with a little bit of ice.
Yeah, if anyone looks at it, they'll be like, okay, that's Ulfric's mark.
Perfect. He takes his axe very gratefully while Threign is doing this as Ulfric, while he's carving his name. Well, not his name, while he's carving strength, the giant rune for strength into an axe. What would the three of you be doing? Anything in particular?
Oh, I'd just be quietly whistling to myself. I don't know.
Are we changing the past? Who knows? We don't know yet.
I probably look over at Lyra. I forget Lyra's name off the top of my head, but
Corius, I think, isn't it?
Corius. Yes, I look over at Corius and sort of go, Corius, you've been oddly quiet there. What do you make of all of this?
Well, I mean, I know I was one of the people that signed the treaty, but, I'm kind of up there with Sarsund. I mean, we, at least, this is their lands that they habitate in the summer. Cloud Giants, we made our flying, islands. I mean, to give up something that you physically made with your own hands kind of seems a bit, unnecessary. I mean, we've got so much magic, so much technology. I still reckon we should have gone with my idea of just making a new island, some cool magic, some cool technology going on. Just new island, middle of the ocean. No one's gonna miss it. But it's why are we giving up inhabited lands? I mean, hell, surely we could put them all out on, I don't know.
There was that point of maybe I did say that the small folk were adaptable to our environments, but I kind of look up in the air. Putting them in the air, they may not be as well suited to the altitudes as perhaps you would be, Corius.
Sorry, just before we just out of character for a second, the Cloud Giants, they did lose an island, didn't they? Or
so the Cloud Giants, you also have land as well. It's not, you can't just construct
it wasn't the flying land, it was just the land
castles in the sky without the ability to mine and things like that. So yeah, the Cloud Giants also gave up land as well. The Cloud Giants were probably less put out as the Hill Giants, because a lot of the Cloud Giant land isn't necessarily very, very fertile. They use magic for all of their needs. The Cloud Giants rely on magic for everything, but a lot of the gemstones, the magic gemstones that the rest of the giants use for technology, are mined by the Stone Giants and refined by the Cloud Giants. So there would have been useful land where mines are located, where the Stone Giants and Cloud Giants have both had to give up. So everyone lost.
I thought they'd lost one of the flying.
No, there was no agreement to hand over any flying cities. But in the present that all of the Cloud Giant cities that were left behind, except for Nocturnus, are inhabited. Basically, the one that crashed is now the home of the Aarakocra and Owlin, rather appropriately.
Yeah. We're giving up stuff that we're currently using, and yes, it's only for 100 years, and for us, it's kind of the blink of an eye, and for them, it's a couple of generations. But I still think that there probably were, better ways.
It was a difficult time. There was a lot of pressure for us to make the right decision and to not offend and not to off-put any of the other the giant races. As you are full aware, you were there. But no, it was a difficult decision. The small folk were escaped. They said they came through these portals. Of course, not intentionally. They were opened by us, by Sindare and her assistants. But they seem to say there seems to be something with them. They seem to have been perhaps running away from something. So how could we turn them away in their time of need. I mean, sure, we've all lost land, but they've lost seemingly a lot more than just land. It was not an easy decision, and perhaps your idea could still prove useful, perhaps in the future, to create maybe a haven for them somewhere in the sky. Granted, we might have to work on, again, the altitude thing might be.
No, who said it has to be in the sky? I mean, I'm currently working on it right now, so it's still kind of a work in progress, but it doesn't have to be in the sky. I mean, again, we are a continent surrounded by so much ocean. I mean, we could create a new landmass, like, even if it floats slightly above the ocean.
What, like Drift Haven, just out of context?
Yeah, she's hinting at it's like a Drift Haven.
It's funny, Drift Haven's become one of my favorite locations that I've played for this. It's just because you guys had such fun there and because you got so into it. I think I went to a lot more effort I normally do, fleshing out so much more of it. And it
was fun.
So
I think
much
Drift
more.
Haven is probably my favorite place.
It's been one of mine too. I've added a lot more to Drift Haven and the other floating cities
we need
as well.
to go there then.
Yeah, there's so much more stuff. Don't worry. I've been everything, all the locations you enjoyed from Tyranny of Dragons, I've fleshed out. All the locations we didn't get to go to in Tyranny of Dragons are all there waiting for you.
This is going to sound really weird because obviously Yervith was a wood elf, but I think of all the places Yervith would retire to, he would probably retire to Drifthaven. Yeah.
Yeah, the lifestyle's very similar, very very laid back to what Yervith loves.
Exactly.
As you finish carving the giant rune into the axe, Ulfric, Threign as Ulfric, Threign, you feel the edges of your vision begin to blur a little bit, and you watch as the color and light seems to slowly fade around you, as this vision or experience of the past slowly seems to come apart, fade and break, until you find yourselves gasping awake, back in the Underdark, back in your own bodies as yourselves. And as you startle awake, Harry, who is sort of sitting next to you, Ember, slowly stacking little bits of the vines on top of your head to make a little tower. As you startle awake and the tower falls down, you watch as Harry freezes, looks and goes, "Oh, bad dream." That is where we're going to wrap up for tonight so that we can jump back in with the fallout of that next session.
Fuck yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. It has been wonderful having you all here. Welcome to newcomer Zekiro Games. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for jumping on the Discord. Twitch people, don't go anywhere. We are going to go and raid another lovely channel. Continue the love and the raid train as it goes. Let's have a quick look and see who is currently available to raid. None of our usuals are. Let me have a quick look and see if there's anyone else we'd like to really quickly raid. While I'm doing that, I also want to give a massive shout out and thank you to all of our YouTube members who are amazing people, incredible people, and official Tempest Guild members as well, I should add, and are getting to watch this 24 to 48 hours early on YouTube. If you're a YouTube member, the second I upload a video, you have access to it. You don't have to wait for the normal schedule. So thank you so much to all of those lovely people. Let's go and raid this lovely D&D stream. Treetop Fox doing a one-shot Tuesday. I think let's go raid them. I'm just going to copy their thing and I'll load it across and we'll go and raid them and give them some love. So thank you so much, everybody. Stay safe, stay well, and we will see you all again really, really soon. But until then, farewell, everybody. Goodbye! Bye-bye!
Bye!
Mwah.
Thank you.